Hollywood's new century. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction. So don't try any techniques you hear here in real life, your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 276. On a large yacht off the coast of King's Wharf in Los Angeles, the brightly lit yacht looks dazzling at sea. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button not only has a good box office, but also has a good reputation. Although it lost to Slumdog Millionaire at the previous Golden Globe Awards, it is definitely a favorite for the Best Picture at the Academy Awards, and Simon Park's Xinghe Pictures, as the co-producer of the film, will of course hold a celebration banquet. In addition, both Warner Brothers and Paramount have high-level executives to attend the yacht reception, and the yacht is even more star-studded. Needless to say, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, Kate Blanchett, Nicole Kidman, Hugh Jackman and other Australian stars. Hey, Simon, this scene is really bad today. In the backstage of the second-floor lobby of the yacht, Simon met Alan Horn, the chairman of the production department of Warner Brothers. Pictures. Is there a chance to celebrate? It doesn't matter if the scene is bigger. Simon and Alan Horn shook hands, taking no surprise at Hollywood's Mediterranean-bald film and television tycoon. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button was originally Alan Horn's innocence, but he also attended today, and Paramount's president Gail Boardman also attended this year. Your Xinghe Pictures is really making big moves. Such a strong fund can support any of your blockbusters. Alan Horn is of course envious. The funds required for the release of blockbusters are too huge. At present, Warner Brothers is jealous of Simon's huge Wall Street earnings. Time Warner is a major global media conglomerate. Movies, TV, cable operations, advertising, internet services, etc. are incomparable to us, Simon Parker said, taking a sip of the red wine in his hand and continuing to speak. At present, Time Warner has heard that it is going to be separated from AOL, and AOL's independence is also a good thing for Time Warner. The board of directors and shareholders of the group are working on it. Our focus is still on Warner Brothers Entertainment. In the current economic situation, except for Xinghe, almost all film investment funds are being cut, which is rare. Alan Horn said to the group's senior management the big strategy doesn't have much say, and at present it is only concerned with the progress of Warner Brothers Pictures. The environment will improve. The film cake cannot be eaten by one or two companies. As the world's film center, we should look to the future. Simon also knows that the current strength of Xinghe Entertainment has caused hostility from other film companies. Infighting will only hurt both sides. New technologies and new ideas are the right way to compete for new markets. Alan Horn smiled. Needless to say, everyone understands that the North American market has always been the largest market. In addition to MGM, the other 6 established film groups are overtaken by a new type of film company, which is somewhat unacceptable anyway. Marvel's adaptation of Iron Man did a good job. In the future, Marvel Studios in your hands is estimated to be DC's biggest competitor. Alan Horn laughed, which belongs to Warner Bros. DC Entertainment adaptations. Superman and Batman have always been cash cows. Moreover, the characters Superman and Batman have always been the most popular heroes, and Marvel has only Spider-Man to fight. However, Spider-Man has already been captured by Sony. And it is unexpected that the second-tier character Iron Man developed by Xinghe Entertainment will be so successful. Batman, directed by Mr. Nolan, is currently the highest-grossing superhero movie, and it seems that Warner Brothers is about to release the DC adaptation of Watchmen. Mr. Zack Snyder worked with me on Spartan before 300 Warriors. Is a very talented director. Simon said this, but he was still a little happy in his heart. Zack Snyder's Watchmen is definitely a heroic film with great depth, a typical example of winning the word of mouth and losing the box office. I thought, Simon, your energy now is mainly on your 2 teams, or on Wall Street. I can't believe that you are still paying attention to Hollywood. Alan Horn said with a smile. Warner Brothers. The adaptation of the comic has always been planned, and the reboot of Batman has been a huge success. Thanks to the young director Christopher Nolan. Hopefully Zack Snyder can be as successful as his fellow Nolan. Let's go. Our guests seem to be in a hurry to wait for us. Simon looked at the yacht hall not far away. As the organizer, he could not ignore the guests. There was laughter and chatter, and the waiters interspersed in the crowd and kept bringing drinks to these Hollywood stars. Simon had just finished chatting with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie when he saw Nicole Kidman, who he hadn't seen for a long time, come to his side. "Hi, Nicole." Simon. The two hugged, and Nicole Kidman seemed to be less melancholy than before, getting older, but still a bit smart. Weakness has been filmed, and the release will not be released until November. This year Xinghe seems to have several blockbusters in preparation. Congratulations. Nicole can't talk to Simon as casually as before. The original Mao Tao boy is now it's already a sight to behold. Simon smiled. Nicole Kidman's films in the past few years were almost unsuccessful. This inspirational film Weakness was released during the financial turmoil this year, which is definitely attractive. By the way, I heard that you are considering making a movie version of Rabbit Hole recently? Simon asked. Well, I'm currently negotiating with the producer of the drama for the adaptation, and I'm still discussing it. Anyway, I signed 5 TV shows with your Venus Films. This is the second film, Nicole Kidman said with a smile. The small success of a low-budget literary film like Sunshine Cleaning gave her a direction for the film. The play Rabbit Hole premiered on Broadway in 2006, and it is still being performed, so it seems good to be adapted into a movie. Well, relying on your network to attract some stars to join. The investment is not large. You can develop into this type, so that Huaing production company also has projects to operate, right? Simon has not seen the drama Rabbit Hole. Is the movie good? Of course I don't know. I'm listening to your advice now, and I'm much more cautious when choosing projects. I plan to run Rabbit Hole well this year. I'll also play the heroine, and the cost of the film can be saved a lot, Nicole said. Although Kidman has a good relationship with Simon, the distribution company is also looking for food. Although Venus Pictures mainly distributes literary films, it is also important to make money. It makes sense, but you're not short of money, right? Simon joked. I work hard for money, and I don't dare to mention money in front of you. Nicole thought of something, and then said, if I have time these days, I have a party to hold. Can you come? Yes, I will stay in Los Angeles for a while at the moment. Just notify me when you arrange it. Simon will of course give Nicole this face. Chapter 277. Not afraid of competition. Cocktail parties have always been a place for people from all walks of life to engage in relationships, transactions, favors, etc. Before the Academy Awards, Hollywood held countless parties every day. After all, there are so many filmmakers, and the greater the reputation, the more resources and the more money you earn. Stars who have adapted to the spotlight will also pursue cognition more crazily. A long red carpet was rolled out outside the Roosevelt Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard today, and the 5th anniversary celebration of Xinghe Entertainment was held in the hotel's business lobby. Since the morning, Hollywood stars and singers have come one after another, and the surrounding reporters are also constantly pressing the shutter of the camera. Simon Parker put on a decent suit at home, made all preparations under the service of the maid, and got into the car bound for the Roosevelt Hotel in order to avoid the pervasive reporters. Simon took the elevator directly into the restaurant from the underground parking lot of the hotel. First of all, Simon and the company's high-level executives Nina Jacobson, Sonia Roman and others met and entered a small business conference room. We spent a lot of time preparing this time. Not only did we invite many stars who worked with us, but also many film investors and bankers to participate. Nina Jacobson excitedly said. Simon introduced today's anniversary while making no secret of his ambitions. The record label and the TV division are doing equally well, Sonia Roman continued. Today, we will also announce that the company will take a stake in AMC TV station. Rainbow Group has agreed to sell us 40% of the shares of AMC cable TV station. The TV station finally has our layout. Several dramas produced by the Xinghe TV department before are all good, especially Gossip Girl broadcast on the CW TV station. The results are very dazzling. AMC TV is now selling shares to Xinghe Entertainment for its own consideration. In this way, the first broadcast platform for TV or variety shows produced by Xinghe is of course AMC. Simon smiled. The American cable group of the James Dolan family, the behind-the-scenes owner of the Rainbow Group, was strongly opposed when Simon bought the Nets and moved to Brooklyn, New York because it owns the Knicks, the most valuable team in the NBA. There is indeed no permanent enemy in the business field. In the face of interests, everything is unstoppable with AMC cable station. At least we have an additional platform, which is indeed of great benefit to the development of the group. Simon of course supports the group's expansion. However, the current focus of Xinghe Entertainment is on the international distribution of movies and brand licensing. These are not our advantages. Compared with other mature big studios, we still have a long way to go in the background. Xinghai did not catch up with the global expansion bus before Hollywood. Although the seventh major has become the sixth major, the development of the film industry has continued in the multi-entertainment empire. The film business is only a part, and the upstream and downstream development of film products and the derivatives market, related manufacturing, music, games, and the internet cannot be left behind. Simon, don't worry about this. Our films have done well before, but we also lack series IP. 20th Century Fox's Star Wars series, Warner Brothers Harry Potter series, Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean series, even Paramount's Mission Impossible series. These series of films can not only provide them with a steady stream of cash milk, but also provide influence on the company's expansion. And now we have Marvel Entertainment, Iron Man. The success has given us a lot of confidence, and the establishment of the Avengers universe will definitely become the ace series of our Xinghai. Nina Jacobson is still very confident. Kevin Feige, as the #1 general under his command, has already done good long-term plan this summer. Store is another whetstone for the verification series. Moreover, in terms of brand licensing, we are now also participating in the images of Marvel heroes such as Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. Whether it is Sony or 20th Century Fox, they will abide by and help promote toys and comics. Hey, what's our process of taking back the development rights of Marvel character movies? Sonia Roman asked. Suddenly this can't be rushed. Popular characters like Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men are difficult to take back. Other possible roles, Kevin Feige is negotiating. I believe there will be soon good news. Simon has been concerned about this issue, so he knows a bit more. In any case, like the current Spider-Man in the hands of Sony, the X-Men series in the hands of 20th Century Fox must have no chance. Sony and 20th Century Fox must have a firm grasp on the role of the series that has been successful. Okay, take your time. Now that our Iron Man has been successful, and the next is Thor, the establishment of the Marvel Universe has taken the first step, and our future is bright, Sonia said. As Roman said, he pulled everyone's thoughts back. Simon looked at his watch, stood up and said with a smile, "It's almost time." The guests estimated that it's almost there. Today is our important day. Let's go. Xinghai Entertainment held an anniversary celebration with great fanfare this year, and its influence was still very sensational. After all, the current economic environment has caused many companies to cut costs. The business banquet hall of the Roosevelt Hotel is really star-studded at this time. There are not a few stars who have cooperated with Xinghai Entertainment in the past few years, and of course many have received invitations. Los Angeles used to be full of celebrities, and Xinghai Entertainment, backed by Simon Park's Nine Hedge Capital, is very famous in the investment world. The film industry has always been one of the industries that investors like. Therefore, the people who came to participate in the anniversary of Xinghai Entertainment this time have a lot of people in the financial investment field. The beautiful host of the company's media department introduced the great achievements of Xinghai Entertainment in the past few years on the stage, which caused waves of applause. Next, let's invite Mr. Simon Parker, the founder of Xinghai Entertainment, to speak. The host laughed. Simon, who was sitting below, sorted out his suit, walked onto the stage with a smile, and looked at the hundreds of people in the hall. Thank you all for participating. The small achievements of Xinghai Entertainment in recent years are inseparable from the efforts of all employees. In the future, Xinghai Pictures will continue to invest heavily in developing more and better movies and TV. Anyway, finally, I want to say that Xinghai Entertainment will definitely achieve its own brilliant achievements this year. Xinghai Entertainment has never been afraid of competing with other companies, and jointly building a prosperous Hollywood has always been our goal. Chapter 278. The grand anniversary of Xinghai Entertainment has caused a lot of shock in Hollywood, and the huge public investment in the film has made countless producers and directors hope to get the support of Xinghai. Of course, as a new type of film company, the ambitions exposed by Xinghai Pictures have made all the old big studios feel the crisis. Burbank, Xinghai headquarters, in Simon's office, Simon leaning on a chair is listening to Laura Collins' report. After the anniversary, the company received a lot more script projects, and the ideas received by Venus and Aurora Films doubled, mainly from independent producers or directors. I hope to get our support. Laura Collins laughed. This is not important, and I have received a lot before. Simon was actually a little absent-minded. After all, independent low-cost movies don't make much money. We have also been approached by many mainstream commercial film projects. Ms. Jacobson believes that there are many projects currently underway in the company and need to be treated with caution. Laura Collins continued, "This year is our opportunity and challenge for us. There are a lot of movies released. Whether it can be arranged reasonably will be a very important task," Simon said, banging on the table. "Movie distribution is a very important task, tedious work at the same time. Developing overseas markets is also the highlight of this year. By the way, how is the construction of the theaters we invested in China? Especially the 3DMX giant screen theaters?" Simon asked suddenly. After all, many domestic joint theaters are large commercial theaters with IMAX theaters. Come on, the more than 10 multiplex theaters we have invested in China are very advanced, and there are still 3 IMAX cinemas currently under construction. Ms. Zhou is very concerned about this one. Laura Collins responded. Simon nodded. The situation in the United States is different from that in China. The earlier Paramount Act restricted studios from operating theater chains, although this is now relaxed. Because of the monopoly law, the studios have not made the operation of the theater chain a priority. The big studios now use Sony, Universal and Paramount, although they have some equity in the theater chain, but also to ensure the right to speak in the distribution market. The cinema market in North America is still dominated by 3 major cinema companies. The situation in China is different. Now film companies are basically setting up their own theater chain companies to compete with state-run theater chains. Xinghai Cinema Company belongs to foreign capital and cannot be wholly owned, but can only form a joint venture company to jointly operate the cinema. Now, on the Hollywood side, I don't think any film company has invested more in China than us, Simon smiled. Originally, Warner Brothers was at the forefront, but they didn't believe in China's policies and removed the first few. The Warner Brothers Studios project invested in 2017, there are more than 10 multiplex theaters, adding up to more than 100 large theaters, and theaters in different places are also joined by different theater chain companies. In this way, if Xinghai Entertainment's films are released in China in the future, they feel that they will have an advantage over other Hollywood film companies in terms of volume. Ms. Zhou is currently working hard to prepare for the Tai Chi project that we invested in, and this project has a great influence in China, which is very helpful for our Xinghai Entertainment to enter the Chinese mainland. Laura Collins laughed. Of course, the influence is great, not to mention Zhou Xingqi's influence in China. Just talking about the level of investment of $60 million, it is currently the highest investment Chinese film except Red Cliff. However, Red Cliff is divided into 2 parts, it is also a war film, and Tai Chi is a kung fu film co-produced by China and the United States. Boss, there is one more thing that needs to be decided. Laura Collins asked with some seriousness. What's up, Mr. David Messer's Marvel contract expires this year, Laura Collins said. David Messer, Simon said and smiled. After the spin-off of Marvel Studios, Marvel Entertainment is now responsible for very few things, and David Messer will not renew his contract. David Messer was originally the president of Marvel Entertainment, but his abilities were too ordinary in Simon's view at present. The team of Marvel Entertainment will expand to the Xinghai Entertainment consumer goods market and theme parks in the future. After Laura Collins left, Simon called Nina Jacobson and talked about David Messer again. Simon stood up, walked to the window, and looked at the industry belonging to Xinghai Entertainment that was still under construction not far away, lit a cigarette, took a puff, and looked at the sky again. This year's high-profile push of Xinghai Entertainment to the forefront is to use the storm of the financial tsunami to secure Xinghai Entertainment status in Hollywood. Hollywood's entertainment industry cake is indeed huge, but it is only that big. Xinghai Entertainment has a lot of cakes. If the big market does not increase, it must be robbing other studios. The world of capital is bloody. Will the storm be far behind? Universal, Disney, and Simon have been thinking about tourist resorts. The powerful influence of Universal Studios and Disneyland has been suffocating itself. At the same time, the 6 members of the MPAA organized an internal meeting. For the MPAA, which holds the power of the North American film rating system, the impact of the American film business is still great. The Big Six has never stopped suppressing independent studios, and Xinghai Entertainment is also an independent studio. The biggest advantage is the powerful capital of Simon Parker behind Xinghai Entertainment and the popularity of the movies produced by Xinghai Entertainment. However, Hollywood's major theatrical companies are by no means impossible and 6 big shouting. Although the Big Six will not really unite, the Big Six, as traditional Hollywood studios, have their own pride in terms of theater resources. It is very simple to let each theater company rent a machine to Xinghai Entertainment. At this time, the young director Ashley Brax is studying the literary film Cracks to be released in March on the Venus Films under Xinghai Entertainment. How many theaters are there currently where Crack is released? Ashley Brax asked the assistant without looking up. There are currently 278 paintings. The assistant responded quickly, it's close to 300, and it seems that it can only attract people by word of mouth after the release. But Ashley Brax said weakly, after all, Crack is a very unattractive movie no matter how you look at it. Even if it is very literary, it will not meet the standards of the Oscar judges. The heroine Eva Green is currently one of the leading French actresses of the new generation. But it is definitely not enough to support a movie. Many of the literary and artistic films produced by Xinghe Entertainment in recent years have been well received at the box office. Fortunately, the cost of Crack is low, and the star is also for awards. Ashley Brax is actually focusing on the documentary horror film Ghost Records, which is very popular in the DVD market. Aurora Pictures has already arranged for it to be released in theaters in November this year. If Ghost Records can reproduce the glory of Blair Witch, then Ashley Brax's hide in Xinghe Entertainment will definitely rise. Chapter 279. 2.22, a grand event in the film industry. The Academy Awards ceremony was held at the Kodak Theater in Hollywood as scheduled. Compared with the Golden Globe Awards a month ago, Oscars specifications are indeed a lot higher, and the flow of people on the avenue of stars is enough to prove it. The lively event can also be regarded as injecting a touch of vitality into the economically depressed Hollywood, which is still intoxicated. After all, the host of the awards ceremony was looking for an Australian actor, Hugh Jackman, and Simon Pegg sat down near the side of the corridor. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button has 13 Oscar nominations, Slumdog Millionaire has 9 nominations, and Life and Death has 5 nominations. Was also nominated for 2 awards. Counting all the films released by Xinghe Entertainment last year, they were nominated for a total of 32 Oscars. At the Oscars, the Best Picture and Best Director have occupied half of the country, and Xinghe Entertainment has been in the limelight at this Oscars ceremony from the very beginning. Congratulations, Simon. Xinghe Pictures should have gained a lot this time. Sitting with Simon was Jeff Robinoff, president of Warner Brothers Pictures, who had already begun to congratulate Simon. Jeff, I'm not the savior of any modern movie. Iron Man's box office in North America exceeded $300 million, and there is only 1 nomination for Best Special Effects, but your Dark Knight has quite a few nominations. Simon said with a smile. Jeff Robinoff smiled too, and glanced at Harvey Weinstein on the other side, the man known as the savior of modern cinema. When Simon said this, he was obviously mocking him. It seems that Simon Pegg and that Harvey Weinstein are indeed incompatible. Unexpectedly, Marvel's first Iron Man has achieved such a great success in your hands, and our DC will have a huge competitor in the future. Jeff Robinoff also laughed. The Oscars are a big help for independent studios, but for the big 6 centered on commercial films, they're less and less important. Simon smiled and didn't speak. Warner Brothers had too many good cards in their hands. Not to mention the gold-sucking monsters in the Harry Potter series. DC's Superman and Batman have always been the 2 most influential superheroes. Marvel's Ace Spider-Man is now Sony's pet. The Oscars is about 3 hours, plus 1 hour of commercials or cabaret performances in the middle. It's 4 hours during the commercial break. Many guests will go to the bar to rest or go to the toilet. Of course, Simon will not sit for 4 hours. After all, Simon is not an actor, so he won't be an award-winning guest, a performance guest, except that he may have to go on stage to win the Best Picture. Basically, there will be no situation on stage. Naturally, it was natural for Simon to leave the awards ceremony and go to the bar to rest. Of course, there are extras at the Oscars to fill in when guests aren't in their seats. Otherwise, when the camera sweeps over, it is always bad if it is an empty position. Simon Pegg waited until after the Best Supporting Actor awards to go to the bar with Jeff Robinoff. Heath Ledger is indeed a good actor. In terms of performance methods, the Experience Group can't get out of the bad results, Simon said with a bit of regret. Although Heath Ledger has passed away, he has won his role in The Dark Knight. The Joker won the Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his daughter. It's really a loss. His performance in The Dark Knight was amazing. Hope he rests in peace, Jeff Robinoff said, taking a sip of wine. After The Dark Knight was such a big success, Heath Ledger's function is great. Simon left him. Even when a person dies, he can still be squeezed out of the residual value, even if he himself will do it. By the way, Simon, I saw that your Xinghe movie schedule is very full this year, including commercial blockbusters, literary films, and horror films. Have you thought about continuing to strengthen cooperation? The Curious Case of Benjamin Button is still very successful a movie. Jeff Robinoff suddenly suggested. Really? However, Xinghe's current distribution resources should be sufficient. If we continue to strengthen cooperation, Warner Brothers has excess funds to participate. At present, we are sparing no effort to develop new movies. There are too many funds to consume, and we welcome funds from all parties in content production. Simon smiled. Xinghe Entertainment is currently making every effort to improve the distribution network. With strong capital and blockbuster movies, it is absolutely possible in the shortest time. Perfect. Jeff Robinoff smiled, shook his head and said, Warner Brothers is no better than Xinghe. This year's situation has caused our film and television department to receive less funding than before. As you know, we are also backed by a large number of external funds. We now hope to talk to you about the idea of a movie fund on Wall Street. With your contacts and reputation on Wall Street, there should be a lot of movie funds or investors who want to enter in the film industry. Simon was stunned for a moment. It turned out to be a need for funds. He nodded and said, this can be discussed with Nancy. After all, it is a period of economic contraction, and many people are very tight on funds. Actually, have you ever thought that the capital in Asia is very strong now, such as East Asia and the Middle East? Did DreamWorks just get a lot of investment from India? Well, we have contacted, but at present it is mainly European and American investment. After all, Hollywood is always the Hollywood of the United States, and a large number of capitals have settled in, which has a great impact, Jeff Robinoff said and took the shot. Tapped Simon on the shoulder. Simon nodded, disdainful in his heart. Isn't most of Hollywood's capital Jewish capital? The entry of capital from the Middle East and East Asia will definitely limit the environment for movies. The Hollywood guys are using other people's money to discriminate against other people's countries and movies. A large number of funds in the Middle East, but can become the decency of Hollywood movies? Not to mention being a protagonist, there is no chance for a supporting role, but a passerby can. The 2009 Oscars ended perfectly, and the biggest winner was definitely Xinghe Entertainment. Not only did Slumdog Millionaire win the Best Picture and Best Director awards, but also the Best Original Dubbing, Best Sound Effects, etc. A total of 7 Oscars. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button also won 3 awards, including Best Visual Effects. Kate Winslet also won the Oscar for Best Actress in Reading Aloud. Xinghe previously won the Best Picture Oscar for No Country for Old Men, and now it has won the Best Picture for Slumdog Millionaire. The 7th largest film company in Hollywood, Xinghe Pictures, is on the rise. Chapter 280. Important Market. With the Oscars coming to an end at the end of February, there has of course been a wave of press releases for the entertainment industry. As the biggest winner of this year's Oscar, Xinghe Pictures naturally has the largest space. Riding on the east wind of the Oscar, the release of the film is of course to borrow a wave in Marbury's seaside villa. Simon leaned on the sofa in the viewing room, admiring the Pacific Ocean view in front of him, and there were a lot of newspapers beside him. Compared with Beverly Hills, Malibu Beach is much quieter, and there are fewer reporters to deal with. Simon can calm down and think. After a while, Anne Hathaway walked in after 2 cups of coffee and smiled. Shouldn't the company have a lot of work? You seem to have rested here for several days. Simon waited for Anne Hathaway to put down the tray, pulled the girl over to sit in his arms, and lowered his head to kiss the girl's mouth. The lips are full of fragrance, and the 2 tongues are intertwined. Here, since the Oscars, Anne Hathaway has been with Simon for several days. The awards ceremony has just ended, and our results are good. Many award-winning filmmakers also need to celebrate. Let them relax. The company is on the right track, and I don't need to worry about small things. Simon hugged the girl after the lip split. One side opened his mouth. That's fine. I heard that you've been very busy recently, so you can really take the opportunity to rest for a while. Of course. Anne Hathaway had nothing to say. I heard that you are going to take a break this year? Simon asked. After all, Anne Hathaway is also shooting Tai Chi in another romantic film, which is not long. Yes, I want to accompany my family and have a good rest, Anne Hathaway said as she leaned into Simon's arms and continued, do you have time? I can accompany you to your thoughts then. Where to go to travel? Look, I'm going to go to China in the second half of the year. Tai Chi is a project that the company values very much. I want to follow up more, Simon said while patting the girl. At this time, Nina Jacobson, the current head of Xinghe Pictures, had just come out of the golden arched Bronson Gate of Paramount headquarters in a moving car on Bronson Avenue in Hollywood. Paramount is also laying off staff, said the assistant sitting next to Nina Jacobson, looking at some of the Paramount employees who had also left the door with cardboard boxes in the back of the car. All production companies are cutting production or lowering film production costs, and it's normal for Paramount to lay off more than 30 people. Nina Jacobson didn't care. Universal Pictures sold Roger Pictures under Focus Pictures to Relativity Entertainment. Has it been announced? Nina Jacobson suddenly asked again. It's officially announced. $150 million, and ROG Pictures is now part of the theory of relativity. The assistant quickly responded. Nina Jacobson nodded. The major studios have their own various sub-film labels, which are responsible for releasing some independent literary films, as well as thriller, horror, politics, or youth comedy and so on. Universal has Focus, Castle Rock, Roger Pictures, etc. Paramount has Paramount Classic, Paramount Advantage, etc. Sony Columbia has Sony Classic, Mubeo Pictures, etc. 20th Century Fox also has Fox Searchlight, Fox Faith, etc. Pictures, etc. Disney Pictures also has Touchstone, Hollywood Pictures, etc. The days of independent studios were the fastest growing in the DVD boom of the last decade and the earlier VCD era. For now, it's all gone, and the big studios also need a market for independent films now. Are there any independent studios? Also, Lionsgate, Weinstein Pictures can have some appearances. Xinghai Pictures an independent studio? Nina Jacobson just smiled at herself. Blockbuster after filming, there's money from the distribution contract, the bank loan, the company's own funds, and the money from Simon's own nine-headed bird fund. Now it is also necessary to add money from overseas investment institutions and issuing partners. After I go back, I will notify the heads of the various subsidiaries to hold a meeting. Taking advantage of the current momentum, we want to seize the low-cost film market. The investment of Venus Films and Aurora Films needs to be increased. Nina Jacob. Although Busan has confidence in Simon's capital, Simon will not foolishly use his own money to keep developing blockbusters. The current source of funds for many blockbusters is mainly the advance of overseas distributors. Of course, Xinghai International Films overseas distribution will only set up branch offices in places with high film market components. Places with low content either form joint ventures with local distribution companies, or authorize local distribution companies to issue exclusively and establish long-term cooperative relationships. At present, Hollywood is actually in a recession. Many producers are trying to save costs, and many people hope to lobby the government to help Hollywood. We also received an invitation from the Film Association. The assistant continued. Lobbying the government? Nina Jacobson smiled disdainfully and said, they probably want to use Simon's identity to attract more financial capital to enter the market. How can the government's $700 billion bailout funds have Hollywood's share? Don't worry about it, we can't decide this kind of thing. The financial tsunami's impact on Hollywood is not that big. The major studio's ability to resist risks is not small. The big impact is only the countless independent production companies or directors. That's it. Nina Jacobson is currently taking the opportunity to gather a group of creative script projects and producers at a low price. Of course, the financial winter will not affect those high-profile Hollywood stars. If they have a market, they will get paid. Simon Parker, of course, is more high-level, and he is very busy with investment, movies, sports, etc. The acquisition of the Secret Dolphins has made Simon Parker's reputation soar. Leaning on his plane seat, Simon looked at the clouds outside the window, flew from Los Angeles to Miami, and now went to talk about the sponsorship of the Miami Dolphins Stadium. As he tapped the table with his fingers, he recalled that it seemed that the Dolphins Stadium cooperated with a Hard Rock company in the previous life, and then changed its name to the Hard Rock Stadium, but it didn't take long. A mere Hard Rock, and he will soon be unable to afford the high annual sponsorship fees. Tom Garfunkel's ability is indeed good. Therefore, Simon intends to let Tom Garfunkel come into contact with several big brands. Even if the sponsorship fee given by some brands is lower than that of Hard Rock, it is acceptable. It would be great if it was like the new stadium of the Nets in the future. And the authorized naming fee of the stadium is not bad. Center Gym, it doesn't matter if the name is good or not. If you really have enough money, it can be called Satan Center or Hell Center. Chapter 281. Wells Fargo Bank. Miami has always been the first choice for many Americans in winter, and the Pacific Ocean current makes Miami equally warm and comfortable in winter. Miami, Palm Beach, Simon's seaside estate. Miami Dolphins president Tom Garfunkel is reporting to Simon about the naming of the stadium. At present, I have been in contact with PNC Financial Services Group, Wells Fargo Bank, Delta Airlines, Jacksonville Group, Hard Rock Group, etc. The highest sponsorship for us is Wells Fargo and Hard Rock Group, followed by Delta Airlines. Well, the rest doesn't meet our naming criteria, said Tom Garfunkel. Simon looked at the information in his hand. Wells Fargo Bank, Hard Rock Group, Delta Airlines. In fact, the Hard Rock Group wants to sign a 20-year contract with an annual naming fee of $1,300. Wells Fargo wants 15 to 20 years, with an annual fee of about $9.5 million to $11 million. Delta Airlines can agree to only sign a 10-year title, but the annual fee is only $7.5 million. 20 years, I think, is too long, and the Hard Rock Group is too small, and its popularity is completely inferior to Delta Airlines and Wells Fargo Bank. Simon knocked on the table and looked at Tom Garfinkel, said, Wells Fargo, when it comes to terms of less than 15 years, there must be an annual naming fee of $11 million. This is Miami, not those small ball markets. Okay, I'll try to talk to Wells Fargo. Tom Garfinkel responded neatly. By the way, it's time to renovate part of the gym next year or the year after. For now, the title and sponsorship should be done first. Simon finally reminded. After Tom Garfinkel left, Simon leaned on the sofa and picked up the newspaper beside him. The news about female singer Rihanna in the entertainment industry being raped by her boyfriend is indeed boring entertainment news. In the evening, Simon came to a charity dinner at a beach club in Palm Beach and happened to meet Ivanka, who is on vacation in Miami. As a new sports tycoon and a Hollywood mogul himself, Simon is very popular at parties. Bankers, speculators, celebrities, sports celebrities, rich second-generation entrepreneurs. Simon is also happy to deal with them. What do you think about the current financial situation, Simon? Daniel Gilbert, who runs the mortgage company Quicken Loan Fund, is also the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. There is still a period of time. The economy needs a recovery period. Simon smiled, but suddenly changed the subject. The Cavaliers' current results are very good, and they are always the first in the league now. LeBron James' ability is amazing. Daniel Gilbert smiled wryly and shook his head. The Cavaliers played well in the regular season, but they were worried about the playoffs. On top of that, LeBron James' contract is coming to an end, and renewal negotiations are too tough right now. Little Cleveland has little confidence in keeping LeBron James, and there are not enough helpers. It is impossible to win the championship by one person. It is not enough to rely on feelings. It is necessary to rely on capital and honor. There are a lot of people going after LeBron James right now, and the Nets team in front of him is very positive. After the somewhat awkward conversation with Daniel Gilbert, Simon sat down on the sofa in a good mood. Coincidentally, Ivanka came over after chatting with Mickey Arison. I heard that now you are discussing the naming of the arena? You have a clue? Ivanka sat down and began to ask. It's almost there. I chose Wells Fargo, at least their reputation is good, and now it's time to talk about the cost and time limit. Simon has nothing to hide. The negotiation is mainly about commercial promotion. While listening, Ivanka nodded and said, many people are now speculating whether you will enter baseball and ice hockey again, but I heard that you are interested in English football, Simon said with a smile. Didn't you find it? Now a lot of American capital is pouring into the Premier League. Capital is profit-seeking. In terms of football, the commercial promotion of the Premier League is indeed the most successful, and I am not to be left behind. Ivanka pouted. There is no way. Money is willful. You can do what you like at will, and more than $1 billion can be spent without blinking. Another private island holiday home in the Bahamas has been renovated. Are you going to take a look? Ivanka asked. Simon's eyes lit up. This proposal is not bad, he responded. Well, you can arrange it. You can go there and enjoy a few days in peace. Anyway, it's also close to Miami, and Ivanka is a beautiful woman with a good figure. Okay, Ivanka said and stood up and smiled. Someone is here. I guess it's looking for you. Stan Kroenke and John Henry came over, and Simon also got up to say hello to them. Stan Kroenke is one of the sons-in-law of the Walmart family, who owns the NBA Denver Nuggets, NFL St. Louis Rams and other teams. Moreover, now there are almost 15% of the shares of Arsenal Club. As for John Henry, he was the owner of New England Sports Entertainment, the future of Fenway Sports, with assets such as the Boston Red Sox baseball team and the New England Regional Sports Network. However, compared to Simon, the two of them are indeed not comparable. Stan Kroenke is okay, but his wife's worth is much higher than him. Both of them are currently working on acquiring Premier League clubs. I seem to have this idea too, just in time to communicate. Simon laughed. Stan Kroenke's interest in Arsenal is well known, but Arsenal's equity distribution is very scattered, especially the Russian tycoon who holds a lot of shares. It needs to be done step by step. As for John Henry's New England Sports Investment Company, which is also thinking about expanding overseas sports, Premier League clubs are still the first choice really. You have acquired the New Jersey Nets and the Miami Dolphins for 2 consecutive years, and now you want to start with a Premier League. How can this not surprise Stan Kroenke? John Henry has grown up with a mouth. The New England Sports Investment Group itself is only a major shareholder. When it bought the Boston Red Sox, it also sold the baseball team Florida Marlins. It's really a young man's world now. Nine-headed bird. Sports and entertainment are developing too fast. John Henry is indeed studying the situation of Liverpool in the Premier League. The combination of sports and entertainment will have a great chemical reaction. The two of you know better than me. Our Hollywood has always been closely connected with this sports circle. Simon said in touch the two of them. The three had a glass of wine together. Chapter 282. Resort Hotel. In the Bahamas, more than 100 nautical miles away from Nassau, the capital of Bahamas, there is a private island purchased by Simon. About 75 acres in size. Originally there were no buildings, but several holiday villas, small marinas and so on have been built. Damn it, it's no wonder that rich people buy private islands for vacation. This environment is so damn good, Simon muttered inwardly while looking at the beautiful sea and sky in front of him on the beach. It's very good, white sandy beach, blue water, embrace the wild natural scenery. Ivanka, who is wearing a sexy bikini and a tulle, smiled. Simon smiled, kicked the seawater a few times with his bare feet, and said, "This place should start business as soon as possible. The airstrip should be built, and at least a seaplane can be landed. Otherwise, this place can only have a helipad and come over by yacht, which is not perfect. Don't worry, the construction hasn't stopped. There will be," Ivanka said, pulling up Simon's hand and leaving. "Let's go to dinner? Someone specially prepared Chinese food for you." Simon nodded. And after Ivanka went back to the room to eat, he received an invitation to dinner hosted by the governor of Florida. "Since I came to Miami, invitations have come like snowflakes. Financial investments, sports and entertainment, politicians, all the time." Simon put down the phone and said with a smile, "It should be entertainment, sports, bank investment. Now you are a big man who is very light. Everyone wants to know you. What kind of banquet is this time?" And the call came here. Ivanka also asked with interest. Invited by Florida Governor Charlie Crist, Simon didn't hide. "It's got to be about the housing recession and the unemployed," Ivanka said. "Often in Florida, where Charlie Crist, elected governor of Florida in 2006, followed her father." Simon nodded and said with a light-hearted look, "The 4 states most seriously affected by the subprime mortgage crisis are Florida, Arizona, California and Nevada. Millions of middle class faced with repossession of the house. It is indeed enough for them to have a headache. By the way, has your family's Atlantic casino filed for bankruptcy again?" Simon asked playfully. Ivanka nodded and explained helplessly, "There are too many debts, and the Atlantic Taj Mahal casino has filed for bankruptcy again. Father only has 10% of the shares left this time, and he has no right to operate." "Okay, these years, your father has gone through bankruptcy and reorganization for the 6th time this time. Who is the person who took over Atlantic Casino this time?" Simon asked with a smile. "Atlantic Casino basically has no development opportunities. Which guy is stupid? Will the stupid take over? Carl Icahn." Ivanka responded quickly. "It turned out to be this guy." Simon nodded. "It seems that this guy still has a lot of failed investment projects," Ivanka said, walking to Simon's side and sitting in Simon's arms, asking, "The current private holiday island project is almost done. Are there any other projects?" While feeling the warm fragrance of the girl, Simon stretched out his hand to wreak havoc on the girl's plumpness and thought for a while. "Your family has a lot of resorts with golf. You are familiar with this aspect, and now I'm also interested in a country resort near Miami," Simon said, ready to dig into Trump's corner. "Which one?" Ivanka asked. "The Dora International Resort in Miami, which has 4 top-level golf courses, plus hundreds of guest rooms, ballrooms, business conference rooms, etc., is now owned by real estate developer Alfred Kaskell, but I hope to sell this resort." Simon knew about the Dora International Resort, which will be acquired by Trump in about 2 years, and will become Trump's most profitable resort in the future. Dora International Resort, which was built in the 1960s, has always been the venue for international golf tournaments. "It's not cheap," Ivanka said in surprise. "Of course it's not cheap. Otherwise how could Alfred Kaskell still ask for $120 million under the current circumstances? But it should be about $100 million. After all, to build a top resort in the future, I still need it cost a lot of money to renovate." Simon laughed. This large golf resort cannot be missed. Ivanka was a little excited and heated by Simon's provocation, and said harshly, Let me participate. I have some experience. Well, don't worry. Yes, this is a big investment after all. I have already asked someone to contact Alfred Casco. After the acquisition, it will be renovated. You can give some opinions, Simon said. After speaking, he kissed the girl's fragrant lips, and the girl's cool swimsuit was also torn apart. It was the second night when Simon and Ivanka went back to Miami. Of course, Simon himself went back to the Palm Oil estate, and Ivanka went back to his father's Mar-a-Lago in the past few days on the small island of the Bahamas. Simon was indeed a little comfortable, and Ivanka's figure was still very attractive, and she almost felt like she didn't want to go back for a few more days. However, the governor of Florida still has to go to the banquet, and it is a compulsory course to have a good relationship with these politicians in the United States. Otherwise, I wouldn't have strongly supported Mario's election for president, and I would have also attended the presidential inauguration banquet at the beginning of the year. Charlie Crist, in his 50s, was hit by a financial tsunami in his first term as governor of Florida. After all, the predecessor was Jeb Bush of the Bush family. The younger brother of former President George W. Bush. West Monpike came to the banquet hall and quickly met Charlie Crist. After saying hello, Charlie Crist said that he was a fan of the Miami Dolphins. Congrats to Simon Parker on his huge acquisition of the Miami Dolphins, and supports the development of the stadium and surrounding areas because this can provide a lot of job opportunities and reduce unemployment. Thank you, Mr. Crist. As one of the two major teams in Miami, the Miami Dolphins have the responsibility to earn honor for the city of Miami. At the same time, the company also has its own responsibility and sympathy, and it will definitely benefit more people in the Miami area in the future. The people. Simon is also smiling. This is a good opportunity to win policy support and tax cuts. Well, Simon, there are many successful people of all kinds here. Maybe you will have more topics to talk about. Charlie Crist apologized and began to receive other guests. Simon suddenly saw an interesting person, Jeffrey Epstein. Chapter 283. Rich Disney. Jeffrey Epstein. This guy's reputation is actually quite big. Although it hasn't caused as much explosion as he did later, in the rich circle, this guy is indeed a pimp, a billionaire, of course, famous. Jeffrey Epstein has been charged many times, and he's actually still serving a 13-month sentence. However, he is serving his sentence in a private prison in Palm Beach and has 12 hours a day to apply to go out to deal with personal matters. Simon just looked at the guy and certainly didn't care about him. Even if he had no future breaking news, Simon had no interest in Jeffrey Epstein. Just as Simon was slowly tasting the wine in his hand, the phone in his pocket rang. What? Robert Iger set off for Shanghai, China. Is it the final negotiation on the construction of Shanghai Disneyland? Simon was not happy after answering the phone. The negotiation and construction of Shanghai and Disneyland have started since 1999. If it's not that Disney's food is too ugly and too strong. Shanghai Disneyland has already started construction now that Robert Iger is at the helm of the Disney Group. If he concedes a little, the Shanghai Disneyland project can start. In my impression, the project under Shanghai Disneyland was successfully negotiated at the end of this year. Isn't Disney negotiating to take over the film distribution of DreamWorks? Robert Iger actually went to China? He tried to acquire Marvel but failed, and now the focus is on Shanghai Disneyland? Simon said as he walked out of the venue to go home. Tomorrow I'll go back to Los Angeles and inform Sonia Roman to come back for a meeting too. Afterwards, Simon didn't care about the Florida governor's banquet, and let the bodyguard drive directly back to the Palm Beach Manor. The next morning, Simon flew back to Los Angeles on his business jet, and in the afternoon held a meeting with several executives of the company. After DreamWorks was redeemed with financial support from Wall Street and India, the establishment of the new DreamWorks Entertainment was very smooth. However, due to the impact of the financial tsunami, the investors reduced the capital support. Steve Spielberg from DreamWorks Greg leans toward Universal Distribution, but David Griffin, another partner, leans toward Disney. Nina Jacobson said again. As for Jeffrey Katzenberg, he's been in charge of DreamWorks Animation. Universal Pictures and Spielberg have been cooperating for many years. This time it is not an acquisition. Why didn't Universal Pictures agree? Sonia Roman asked. Nina Jacobson said with a smile, because the premise of DreamWorks cooperation is to get at least $100 million in funding to maintain the company's operations. Universal feels that it has been deceived by DreamWorks, and Disney promised to help DreamWorks prepare about $150 million in working capital in advance. Simon listened and tapped his fingers on the table rhythmically. Disney's capital flow is indeed very rich. Looking at Sonia Roman and asking, Is Modern Family on ABC? Sonia Roman nodded and said, the second season will be broadcast on ABC in the fall. It is very popular to watch the first season. The Disney Group's ABC television online entertainment division has been the largest in terms of revenue for the Disney Group, and a show or two won't make a big difference at all. Simon looked at the people around him and said, for the future development of Xinghai Entertainment, theme parks and resorts are a must. And the place I like is the rapidly developing mainland China. Shanghai is the most developed city in China. The future is immeasurable. In the future, it has always been my idea to build a large-scale movie theme park resort in Shanghai, China. In comparison, Disney has always been a leader in the industry. At present, they seem to be making progress in negotiations with the municipal government. If an agreement is reached, it will greatly hinder my future plans. Everyone around is stunned. The main movie parks and resorts need huge funds and influence to play, not to mention comparing with Disney. Even if Xinghai Entertainment is a child compared to other large studios. Simon, what do you mean? Nina Jacobson was a little stunned. This idea is very good, but it is really impossible to realize it at present. I know what you mean. Simon interrupted Nina Jacobson's words, and then smiled. Contact the General Electric Group and say that we are interested in the possibility of cooperating with them to build a new Universal Studios in Shanghai, and even get Jeffrey Katzenberg from DreamWorks Animation. I know they all have an idea for that. Well, NBC Universal is not having a good time right now, and the stock price of DreamWorks Animation seems to be. Nina Jacobson explained, we are currently making every effort to set up an overseas distribution system, and the production and distribution of film and television are progressing steadily. I know. I want you to talk to them first, and make it public in the media, and at the same time send someone to Shanghai to get in touch. The greater the exposure, the better. Simon laughed. With my current strength, it is enough to attract the attention of city government, and with the authorization of NBC Universal, it will appear more sincere. Nina Jacobson seemed to understand, nodded and said, are you trying to sway Disney? Negotiations for such a large-scale theme park take a long time, and we do have enough time to prepare. GE has always had the idea of selling NBC Universal, and we can take a look at it now, Simon said, standing up and laughing. Next year, it may make Xinghai Entertainment go public. You are all functional people and will not treat you badly. Haha, when they heard that they were going to go public, of course, everyone was happy. With the current film and television production capabilities of Xinghai Entertainment and the projects in hand, the IPO must be incredible. After the meeting ended, Simon left Sonia Roman alone. Is there anything you want me to do? Sonia Roman asked. I want you to go to China as well. Adam Root, the head of Jiutaoniao's Asian department, will assist you. Jiutaoniao has invested in a lot of technology companies such as Interactive Media in China. I need you to build momentum and unite Xinghai Entertainment. The big project of Universal Entertainment can take advantage of Xinghai Entertainment's current strengths in film and television as a breakthrough, and join the high-profile film and television theme parks and resort projects in mainland China to let them know that apart from the domineering Disney, we are very good. Sincerely. Simon warned Sonia Roman with some seriousness. With the endorsement of the Nine-Headed Bird Fund, the authenticity has been greatly increased. Is that so? I understand. We have a co-production of Tai Chi. I think it should be able to intervene very well. Sonia Roman certainly understood what Simon meant. That is to snatch the first store in mainland China with Disney at any cost. Large international theme park stumbling block for Disney. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284. In Los Angeles in March, the temperature of more than 10 degrees is still suitable, but it will still be a few degrees lower at night. A black sports car came from the courtyard of a villa on the Marbury Beach in Burbank. Before the people in the car got out of the car, a beautiful girl ran out of the house. Simon in the car rolled down the window and said with a smile, I'll drive the car into the garage first. The girl was Sarah Bradna, who originally stayed in Germany, but this time she made a special trip to the UK to come to Los Angeles. What's the matter with looking for me in such a hurry? Simon sat on the sofa and took a cup of coffee from Sarah Bradna in his hand. Aren't you working as a sports reporter in Germany to help follow some of the big news in the Premier League? I came from the UK this time. There are several teams in the Premier League that are currently for sale and are in contact with buyers. Sarah Bradner responded. Simon supported his forehead. Now, not only is the Miami Dolphins busy, but Xinghe Entertainment also has a lot going on. As for the Premier League, I really haven't paid much attention to it yet. Tell me. Simon felt a little tired at first, but when he heard the news, he suddenly felt better. Sunderland and Birmingham both have the intention of selling at present. The acquisition of Sunderland is an American businessman, and it is almost over. There are several acquisitions of Birmingham, but the most contacted one is a businessman from Hong Kong, China. Shala Bradney explained. Simon frowned. Sunderland, a small city in the northeast of England, is relatively close to Newcastle, and Simon will not consider it. Birmingham is a big manufacturing city in the middle of England, but Birmingham is now playing the British Championship. Is there a team in London? I like teams in big cities, Simon asked. The first choice is definitely London. The European headquarters of Xinghe International Pictures is in London, and the European Centre Office of 9 Birds is also the City of London. There are a lot of teams in London, and the ones that meet your requirements won't sell, so, Sarah Bradner laughed. However, England's traditional giant Liverpool is currently in deep debt crisis. Although this year's results seem to be good, the club's two owners, George Gillette and Tom Hicks, are currently in great conflict and have a very poor relationship with fans. Well, Liverpool. Simon's eyes lit up, as if he could compete with John Henry of New England Sports and Entertainment. Follow Liverpool and let me know when there's a chance to sell, Simon said, but for now, the Nets and Dolphins have to be mentioned better, so that 9 Sports Entertainment will have the confidence to buy other sports clubs more adequate. After all, I am not a local tyrant in the Middle East, just throw money at it. Sarah Bradner's eyes lit up, then nodded and said excitedly, okay. Afterwards, Simon took Sarah Bradner into his arms and kissed the girl on the lips. I haven't seen each other for so long, and Sarah Bradner's figure is getting hotter and hotter, and she is indeed a sexy model from Germany. Sarah Bradner spent a week in Los Angeles before returning to Munich, while Simon remained in Los Angeles while waiting for the acquisition of Miami's Doral International Resort and the naming negotiations for the Miami Dolphins Stadium at the same time. Not only the situation of Xinghe Entertainment, which is most concerned about, but also the two clubs under Joe Taubert Sports are also paying attention. With the end of the NBA regular season in mid to late April, the Nets ranked 4th in the Eastern Conference, second only to the Cavaliers, Celtics, and Magic, with a record of 53 wins and 29 losses, and entered the playoffs, the first round of the playoffs, against the 5th-placed Atlanta Hawks in the Eastern Conference. New York. In Simon's Long Island manner, Simon, who was leaning on the sofa, was sipping coffee while reading the newspaper. Assistant Laura Collins on the side glanced at the sports newspaper in Simon's hand, and said with some excitement, the Nets have already won the Eagles in the first game. Well, it's still early. It's best to win the second game. Simon nodded. He came to New York from Los Angeles to cheer for his team. After all, East Rutherford, New Jersey is a suburb of New York, not too far from Manhattan, and it is also convenient to go to the Continental Airlines Arena, home of the Nets. However, it should not be a big problem to win the Eagles. The strength of the East seems to be much worse than that of the West, Simon said immediately after putting down the newspaper. Laura Collins also nodded in agreement, and then asked, the second game is also at the Nets' home court. Do you want to watch it? Simon shook his head. No, it's just the first round. Starting in May, the company's movies will be released one after another. I have to pay attention. First of all, in May, not only The Hangover that Simon is optimistic about will be released, but also Hurricane Rescue, cooperating with the French Europa Films, will be released. In June, Twilight, a youth film with more attention, will be released. In July, it is the second self-released film of Marvel Studios, Thor, which is another masterpiece of the Avengers universe. In March, Xinghe Kaixing Pictures released the feature film Crack, which has a good reputation. Eva Green's performance has been praised by many film critics, and director Jordan Scott is worthy of being a great director. Ridley Scott's daughter, said Laura Collins, then rejoiced, boss, Crack is only a small drama, but our horror film The Orphan's Resentment, released by Aurora Films in early April, has a score of 13 million, and the reputation is also good, but the cost for a movie under $20 million, we made a lot of money this time. Orphan Resentment, that's good. Simon nodded, and then thought of the feature film Crack. Eva Green seemed to have not seen each other for a while. The attention of Twilight is currently very high, and the publicity cannot be left behind. After all, the novel is very popular, Simon reminded Laura Collins. Adolescents have always been the main force of cinema consumption, And Twilight, we are targeting this group of markets. Laura Collins nodded obediently and said seriously, understood, I will convey the boss's meaning. Let the Twilight cast and crew perform more shows. It will be released in North America by then, and it is estimated that they will go overseas to promote it soon. Simon, of course, values the Twilight series, which is a safe series. Explosive. Moreover, Kristen Stewart is also a beautiful girl, and it seems that this time she ordered it herself. Come here, Simon thought to be happy, pulling Laura Collins into his arms and kissing. Twilight series, Hangover series, two cash cows, how can you not be happy? Chapter 285 Political Reception. In Manhattan, at the Plaza Hotel in New York, across from Central Park South, a luxurious reception is being held. Many celebrities from the political, business and entertainment circles participated. Simon Parker is chatting with Mike Bloomberg, the mayor of New York City of 88, who has been mayor of New York since 2001, and this year is his second term. The mayor of New York will be re-elected soon, and it seems that the third term starting this year will also be realized, Simon said with a smile. The mayoral election year is over. The financial tsunami has had a great impact on New York's economy, and I also hope to restore New York's economy as soon as possible, just like when I ran for mayor for the first time after 9/11, Mike Bloomberg, a well-known billionaire on the Forbes list, said. Millionaires are vital to the development of the economy. After running for mayor of New York, he helped New York recover the economic situation after 9/11 with the fastest speed. Simon nodded. The scene of a reception is so big, no wonder Mike Bloomberg's approval rate is so high. It's nice to have money. The construction plan of the new stadium in Brooklyn is very good, and it is of great significance to the development of Brooklyn. Mike Bloomberg smiled, certainly supporting the Nets' move from New Jersey to New York. The construction of the new stadium is only the first phase of the Atlantic Plaza project, and the investment in the future will definitely be greater. Simon also smiled and continued, however, that requires land. The surrounding land must be taken as soon as possible before construction can begin. The less resistance, the faster the Forest City Group can carry out the project. Mike Bloomberg nodded, and of course he understood what Simon meant. The crowds and parades around the new stadium that he encountered during the construction of the new stadium would affect the construction period too much. Don't worry, the city council has decided, there will be no big deal. Mike Bloomberg was very casual. Old fox, Simon cursed in his heart with a smile on his face. He said happily, New York, as the financial center of the United States and even the world, has a crucial impact on the development of the economy. The recovery of New York is also what everyone wants to see. In the future, whether it is Ninehead Bird Capital or Xinghai Entertainment Group, New York will be one of the base camps and will also fulfill its corporate responsibilities. New York is currently preparing to introduce some entertainment tax rebate policies. I think you will be interested. Mike Bloomberg said, patted Simon on the shoulder, and said with a smile, okay, I have to greet other guests. Have fun. There are many young and beautiful girls here. Simon smiled and said, please. After Mike Bloomberg left, Simon drank his glass of wine in one gulp. Politics was everywhere. The governor, the mayor, the senator, the congressman, the attorney general, the Commerce Department, whether Democrats or Republicans. Simon has seen too much. Hotel venue. George Clooney and his agent Stan Rosenfeld also participated in the reception. Stan Rosenfeld suddenly found Simon Pike in the distance, gently pushed George Clooney's arm, and whispered, Simon Pike is also there. If you can, you'd better find a chance to show it. Well, now your situation is not very good, is it helpful? George Clooney looked displeased, looked over there, and turned his head on purpose. George, you have to pay attention to your own identity, as well as his identity. He is now the top tycoon in Hollywood, and the capital and connections in his hands are not comparable to you, Stan Rosenfeld said with a bitter look. He's risen so fast. You know what happened to Richard Gere? George Clooney looked over, and Stan Rosenfeld said to himself, Richard Gere basically can't stand in Hollywood now, and there are no resources in Europe, and there are all kinds of negative news right now. Simon Pike may have forgotten him, but many people still remember what happened back then. Many people isolated him in order to please Simon. Richard Gere can't even repay the bank's loan, and the tax office has sued. Stan Rosenfeld looked at George Clooney with a helpless expression on his face, and said, Xinghai Entertainment is very strong now. Who will go to ask Simon's unhappiness for you? George Clooney retorted, I'm not Richard Gere's outdated star. Someone else must use me. Who? Stan Rosenfeld's temper also came. As a big agent, he still has characters such as Robert De Niro in his hands, and said sternly, Harvey Weinstein? Don't you look at how embarrassed he is now, and how bad the Weinstein film's film performance has been in the past few years? And the overwhelming negative news? See Matt Damon, Quentin Tower, who dares to speak for him like Lentino and Russell Crowe. Stan Rosenfeld was angry and continued, who do you think Simon Pike is? When he is a small role. He is now the one who can set the rules of Hollywood. His assets are now more than $10 billion, and he's out of Seymour Redstone and Rupert Murdoch, who is richer than him in Hollywood, and look at how strong the development of Xinghe Entertainment is now. Not to mention Oscar, the box office is even stronger. He doesn't like you. Do you still have a way to survive? This, George Clooney was indeed speechless, and whispered, didn't Warner Brothers have a contract with me, HMPH, so what? How strong is your box office appeal? Look at whether Brad Pitt and his wife have crossed paths with you now. The curious case of Jameen Button is enough to show that Simon Pike still has such a strong eye on the film, Stan Rosenfeld said. Angry or forget it, you can do it yourself, I'm leaving. Stan Rosenfeld said and left the venue. George Clooney has also received a lot of negative news from last year to this year. Taking the lead in boycotting last year's Olympic Games almost offended the whole of China. The people, coupled with speeding, were also reported, as well as a lot of tidbits. Stan Rosenfeld is really tired, waiting to be dealt with, and interested in mixing politics? And you're a Democrat supporter, and you're coming to party with Mike Bloomberg, a Republican. Although Mike Bloomberg was originally a Democrat, he was a leftist because he ran for mayor to join the Republican Party. Is it useful to have more relationships? It's too difficult for you not to reconcile with Simon Parker. Stan Rosenfeld was still upset after he went out. Of course, Simon Pike at the reception didn't know about George Clooney. Because Simon had just met Jack Welch, the former chairman of GE, who had been at the helm for many years, invited by Simon Parker as the strategic advisor of Xinghe Entertainment. Jack Welch's role will not be small in the future acquisition of NBC Universal under General Electric. Chapter 286. Netflix is fast. How is it? The investment environment on Wall Street is not very good now. The government's bailout funds are mainly banks and large manufacturing industries. Many funds and individual capitalists are already asking about the possibility of investing in Xinghe Entertainment, Nancy Davis said. As the person in charge of Nine-Headed Bird Capital, it can also be said to be Simon's capital investment advisor. After all, the owner of Nine-Headed Bird is Simon Parker himself. Simon was sitting with Nancy Davis in a quiet corner of the banquet hall. Come on, I'll send someone to China to get in touch with the idea of building a movie-themed resort in Shanghai. I'll ask Adam to cooperate, and you must cooperate with the United States. The cash flow provided is too rich, and I am not very happy. Nancy Davis nodded. Regarding the future of Xinghe Entertainment, of course she will cooperate with Simon. However, you seem to value the Chinese market, in many ways. Nancy Davis laughed. Oh, maybe. Simon just smiled, didn't say much, and then asked again, at present, the size of Xinghe Entertainment should be the time to go public. Nancy Davis asked, is there a big move? Yes, I originally planned to issue a few corporate bonds, but found that it would be better if I went public at that time. Simon laughed. After all, a series of acquisitions and mergers and acquisitions will involve streaming media and the internet. The funds required are too large. Otherwise, my money will be invested in entertainment, which will not be worth it. Xinghe Entertainment's achievements in recent years have been very impressive. The film and television investment funds are very optimistic about Xinghe Entertainment. If Xinghe really IPOs at that time, it will definitely be very popular, Nancy Davis said and laughed again. Of course, the premise is that you are really short of money, and listing is a good choice. Simon nodded. There's indeed one thing you need to do now. What's up? Xinghe Entertainment wants to buy DVD rental site Netflix. Simon said. Netflix? DVD rental site? But isn't the current DVD market going downhill, and even Blockbuster is going to die? Even if Netflix goes into streaming media, it doesn't seem to have much impact on your traditional film and television industry, right? As a content provider, Nancy Davis also logs on to Netflix herself, and knows some things about Netflix. Simon smiled without explaining too much, and said, Netflix is an important part of my fight against the Hulu video network established by Fox and NBC Universal. You first investigate the major shareholders of Netflix, increase the acquisition of Netflix stock from the market. When you're ready, the team at Xinghe will fully acquire Netflix with your cooperation. According to the current market value of Netflix, it is estimated to be close to $2 billion. Of course, a cash acquisition is the best, But it is not realistic. Simon must take out some shares of Xinghe Entertainment to replace it. Understood. We had a little Netflix stock in our hands before, and now I will increase my purchases from the market, and then help Xinghe Entertainment prepare another fund, Nancy Davis said, her eyes lit up. When the time comes, we will make an appointment and complete the acquisition. I believe that with the current momentum of Xinghe Entertainment, it should not be difficult. Well, you know better than me in this regard. I will let the company people cooperate with you. Simon is very casual. After all, Netflix has not yet transformed, and the horror traffic of streaming media is still early. With the current momentum of Xinghe Entertainment in Hollywood, it should not be difficult to eat a Netflix. Just looking at the current film and television quality and box office of Xinghe Entertainment, it is not very attractive to Netflix. Well, you're doing business, I'm relieved. Simon left the venue after speaking, and was really tired today. The next day, Simon went to the construction base of the new gymnasium in Brooklyn. After all, it was also his own new gymnasium. Of course, the construction period was something to be concerned about. In June of next year, the new stadium will be completed. I really look forward to it. Nets general manager Bob Myers stood next to Simon with excitement. Simon nodded and smiled. Next year the regular season Nets can play in the new stadium. The New Jersey Nets are about to become New York's team, and it's exciting to think about it compared with the entrenched Madison Square Knicks, which has the mecca of basketball. The Nets' heritage is indeed insufficient. Simon, though, is confident enough to turn Brooklyn's new gym into a true home of terror. And, to suppress the New York Knicks from the performance, Simon then attended a press conference with Will Smith, the publicity ambassador for the new gym. Before leaving in the evening, Simon and Blake Lively, who were filming in New York, went to watch the famous opera Serenade at the Walter Kyle Theater on Broadway in New York in April. The temperature is much lower than in Los Angeles, and Simon is slender in a black coat. You're so beautiful. Simon praised Blake Lively in a red leather jacket, not only wearing a scarf and sunglasses. Blake Lively still hugged Simon tightly and entered the theater from the parking lot. You are very popular in New York now, and young people regard you as a fashion vane. Simon smiled and said, Blake Lively is of course filming Gossip Girl. In September this year the third season is about to air. Blake Lively laughed. I think it's okay, but I was indeed invited by many fashion advertising magazines. In this old-fashioned theater, the elevator is the kind of early old-fashioned elevator, and Simon and Blake Lively have to close the door themselves after entering. The elevator was very slow. Simon turned to look at the beautiful Blake Lively and touched the girl's face afterwards. The two hugged and kissed in the elevator, and the hot atmosphere could almost melt the cold of New York. As for, at the moment, at the gate of the Walter Kyle Theater, the famous actress Catherine Zeta-Jones is welcoming the cries of the surrounding fans and helping them sign autographs. This kind of thing, of course, didn't know when Simon Pike and Blake Lively were making out. Moreover, there are too many celebrities in New York, and Simon will not pay much attention to any stars at all. Although Catherine Zeta-Jones is also a top beauty, but that was when she was young. British beauty Catherine Zeta-Jones has aged much faster since marrying the old man Michael Douglas. When they came to the upstairs private room of the amphitheater, Simon and Blake Lively had returned to their normal state. You can enjoy the opera Serenade. Chapter 287, A Harvest Year. The theater has Broadway in New York, and the film has Hollywood in Los Angeles, as the two major entertainment labels on the East and West coasts of the United States. Simon has indeed thought about expanding the business of stage plays, but he really knows very little, and stage plays have a much smaller market compared to movies. London's West End and New York's Broadway, as the two peaks of drama in Europe and the United States, have always been the incubators and reprocessing factories of many film and television stars. After all, drama is more technical in performance. It seems that there have always been many big Hollywood stars participating in theatrical performances. Alice. Blake Lively said inside slightly. Simon doesn't understand, and there's nothing wrong with acting in dramas. Stars make money in Hollywood and come here to enrich themselves. Moreover, most theatrical performers can also get Hollywood's attention and become actors through these experiences. After all, with so many theaters, countless performances every day, and high demand for personnel, theater is also a performance experience. Don't worry, if you want to perform now, there will be many theater directors to invite you. Simon smiled. Theatrical performances can't make much money, and those stars who have requirements for acting will train themselves. However, most of the stars are impetuous and powerful. They are willing to spend time performing dramas without much exposure. They are reluctant to do so. However, the presence of popular stars in theatrical performances is also a sign of attracting audiences. which is very attractive to various theaters. Blake Lively just smiled and nodded. After all, after the popularity of Gossip Girl, he really didn't have much interest in entering the drama industry. After the musical, Simon Pike and Blake Lively went to Jane George's Western Restaurant near Central Park. Jane George Western Restaurant is a 3 Michelin-starred French restaurant that is a favorite of many New York bigwigs. Originally, Simon's favorite food must be Chinese food, then Italian food, followed by French food, but it is also casual after all. Jane George's restaurant is famous enough that most people have to make a reservation to have a seat. By the way, when is the movie starring Natalie Portman ready to start shooting? Simon asked about Black Swan, which was renamed from Stuntman. Come on, after I finished filming the current Gossip Girl scene, I should be in the Black Swan crew, Blake Lively said, looking up at Simon, and then said a little tangled, in the script, I have a sex scene with Natalie Portman, and I'm always a little nervous. Oh, when it's time to join the group, you and Natalie Portman will be proficient, just acting, nothing. Simon felt that Blake Lively was probably a little tangled because of his own positioning. After the two finished their meal, they returned to the manor on Long Island. After all, compared to the Upper East Side, Long Island was much quieter at night. Simon and Blake Lively got up and went to the bathroom after a rainy day in bed. Whether or not Blake Lively slept or not, Simon went to a viewing room by the sea alone. Outside the window was the dark Atlantic Ocean in the distance, and of course there were sporadic boat lights on, and Simon sat in his chair thinking. Simon was thinking about Sonia Roman's affairs in China, and it happened to be around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon in China. So he made a phone call to him. Hey, Simon, it's so late, you haven't slept yet? Sonia Roman on the other end of the phone seemed a little surprised. I can't sleep, so I called and asked about your situation. Are things going on at Disney and over there? Simon asked. It's still the same, Disney should be too aggressive. Anyway, they have been talking about cooperation for many years, and they don't know when it will be formed. Sonia Roman actually felt that Simon was making a big fuss. Is it because of the severe economic situation this year? There will always be a concession. Simon frowned and reminded, if you have time here, you can also get in touch with investment institutions in China. First, come up with an idea slowly, and let Adam Root show you a few consortia to be large. Now, you are really fighting over there. Building a movie-themed resort in mainland China is a must for us in the future. Oh, I understand. Here, there are some institutions in Korea or RB. I will contact them. Sonia Roman quickly responded. Afterwards, Simon Parker hung up the phone after instructing a few more things that Sonia Roman needed to pay attention to. Simon Pike and Nancy Davis sit opposite each other at the headquarters of the Nine-Headed Bird Fund in Manhattan, New York. What? Is there something important? Simon asked with a serious look at Nancy Davis opposite. Yesterday I met George Soros, Steve Cohen, John Paulson and James Simmons at the Waldorf Astoria for a day of meetings on European debt. Nancy Davis has nothing to hide. Simon smiled and said, you are about to detonate the European debt crisis. The breakthrough is Greece, right? Needless to say, George Soros, the quantum fund, is famous all over the world. Steve Cohen, head of SAC Capital, trading king. John Paulson is more familiar, the king of shorts, of course. Now this name belongs to the Nine-Headed Bird, not to mention James Simmons, the mathematician and head of a top fund. These are definitely the capital predators of Wall Street, and of course Nancy Davis, because he is in charge of the Nine-Headed Bird Fund. After all, Simon is only giving general directions and doesn't show much. Since last year, the dollar has depreciated, and a lot of capital has flowed from the United States to Europe. For the hegemony of the dollar, the biggest competitor now, the euro, is indeed a stumbling block for us, and the government will not allow it. Nancy Davis explained. Simon nodded. Recently, the United States has been slamming the Greek economy. When Greece joined the Eurozone, Goldman Sachs helped to conceal the debt ratio of Greece. It seems that the United States can't wait to start with the euro now. Let's do it, go with them, Simon said. His eyes lit up and his hair sternly said, in the second half of this year, Greece will hold a general election. It should be the time for the Greek debt crisis to emerge. You can short the euro with all your strength. Regardless of Soros and the others, our Nine-Headed Bird is the king of shorts. Nancy Davis frowned and said, do you have to invest so much to go short? Although there is support from the Ministry of Finance, Greece is also a member of the EU after all, and the EU will definitely save it. Don't worry, it can't be saved. The devaluation of the euro is a must. If you invest less, you will not earn much. The EU will only slow down. Moreover, we are also responding to the U.S. Treasury Department. with a tall man in front. "We are just behind to be the boss," Simon said and smiled. "Next year will be another harvest year." Chapter 288. For the Nine-Headed Bird Fund, Nancy Davis' ability is good. Since he is going to start with €1, of course he has to keep up. However, Simon has not forgotten to remind Nancy Davis to continue to acquire Netflix shares. At the same time, Nancy Davis is also going to China with the end of April and the beginning of May. The anti-terrorist action film Hurricane Rescue by the French Europa Films, released by Xinghai Kaixing Film, received $31.8 million at the box office in the first 3 days. For an action movie with only $25 million in investment, it was an absolute success. However, compared to the film Hurricane Rescue, in May, Simon paid more attention to The Hangover, produced and distributed by himself, an R-rated comedy, as the opening work of Xinghai Pictures this year. Will be released in mid-May. At the moment, Simon is lying on the sofa in his living room, watching the sports news on TV with his arms around sexy Blake Lively. The Nets defeated the Eagles unscrupulously in the first round of the playoffs, and the second round against the Cavaliers, the top ranked in the East. Number 5.6 is the first game, going to Cleveland to play the game. The host on the news is analyzing and commenting. Blake Lively put his arms around Simon, kissed Simon on the face, watched Simon staring at the TV, and said with a smile, "The Nets are a lot stronger now, and I heard that the Cavaliers, except LeBron James, there are no great players. The Nets will win." "Well, LeBron James, this player," Simon said, rubbing his hand on the girl's chest. "The Nets still feel like something, but the Cavaliers are really not that strong. The playoffs are very different from the regular season. LeBron James, you have to bring him to New York. A big city like New York is worthy of this kind of superstar." By the way, 20th Century Fox's comic-adapted superhero movie X-Men, Wolverine, has just premiered, and the opening results are very good. Blake Lively said suddenly, "Well, you still care about this? How much is the opening score?" Simon was also interested. Before asking Kevin Feige to go to Tom Ross to talk about getting the copyright of Deadpool back, 20th Century Fox refused to agree. There are more than $85 million. It seems that the Marvel Studios under Xinghai Entertainment will release Thor next month. Will there be a high score for this opening? Blake Lively asked with a look on his face. Simon shook his head and sighed. "It's a bit difficult. X-Men is already a mature series, and Wolverine is such a popular hero character. Thor is estimated to be difficult. The Avengers universe just came out. The box office of Iron Man is high. The box office of Thor is not necessarily. Isn't the previous Hulk also terrible?" Afterwards, Simon got up and came to the table to open the laptop. "There seems to be a lot of competition in May, not to mention Wolverine. Then there will be Paramount Star Trek 11, Sony's Angels and Demons, 20th Century Fox's Night at the Museum 2, and Warner Bros. Terminator 4, Salvation are blockbusters. Fortunately, the Warner Brothers superhero blockbuster Watchmen that Simon had followed before won word of mouth and lost the box office, and Zack Snyder did not disappoint. The Spartan 300 that this guy helped him film before was a big hit, and Warner Brothers is really good. It seems that even Christian Bale starred in Terminator 4, Salvator Mundi. This is a failed film." Simon stayed in New York, not only focusing on the Nets' playoff results, but also waiting for the outcome of negotiations on the Miami Dolphins stadium naming fee. Finally, thanks to the efforts of Tom Garfunkel, the title sponsorship negotiations for the Dolphins stadium came to an end, and Wells Fargo won the naming rights with an annual sponsorship fee of $12.5 million, starting this year. After all, the NFL game starts in September every year, with a 15-year sponsorship time limit, and the total value of the naming fee is $187.5 million. At the same time, Nancy Davis also set off to China to make some fun for Disney. According to Simon's wishes, Simon also returned to his home base Los Angeles from New York, and Xinghai Entertainment is going in its own direction. Perfect Los Angeles, Beverly Hills. Simon went to Xinghai Entertainment headquarters in the morning and drove back at noon. Simon drove a yellow Lamborghini by himself from Sunset Boulevard into Wilshire Boulevard, stopped at the door of a convenience store and got off to buy something. Just got off the car and was about to enter, but found an adult and a few children from a toy store with several bodyguards at the door diagonally opposite Michael Jackson, and his 3 children, all still wore unknown masks on their faces. As soon as Michael Jackson came out, the bodyguards held up black umbrellas. Simon froze for a moment, then looked at Michael Jackson's smiling face. Simon thought to himself, Michael Jackson seemed to have an accident, and the London concert in July had already been announced. Michael Jackson rehearsed in London before, And now after returning to Los Angeles, he lived in Beverly Hills, where he rehearsed at the Staples Center. It's a little pale and thin. Simon muttered in his heart, and then sighed again, feeling it was a pity. After all, Michael Jackson is now in a very big conflict with Sony Records, and his current financial situation is not good, and most importantly, his health is not very good. Alice Westman watched for a while, then went into the convenience store after returning to his villa in Beverly Hills at night. Simon always felt a little sullen. A person is leaning on the sofa chair in the study in a daze. Zinghe Records is indeed booming now. Top singers such as Taylor Swift, Katy Perry and Gaga and Adele are all under her wing. Moreover, Justin Bieber also signed a contract with an affiliated record company under Zinghe Records last year. Although this kid is a mess, there is no doubt about his ability to make money in the future. Like Taylor Swift, he is a goose that can lay golden eggs. Sony, for the half of the music copyright library in Michael Jackson's hands. It's really hard enough. Michael Jackson, indeed, has a tough temper, and wants to challenge the rules and regulations of the record industry. As a singer, the black heart of the capitalist, it seems that he still doesn't quite understand it. Damn racial discrimination, his achievements as a black man are indeed too great. Simon shook his head. It seems that his white skin still has a lot of uses. In the future, it is estimated that he needs to be darker, otherwise he will not be able to win against those white-skinned old men. Chapter 289. Washing together. Los Angeles, Burbank, Simon's office at Zinghe Entertainment's headquarters. The sun shines in through the glass, and Simon is a little lazy. Simon, who is leaning on the chair, rests his head in one hand, staring at the scenery outside the window. In a daze. Not far away is the Verdugo Mountains, one of the several great canyons in the Los Angeles area. Compared with the scenery of mountain canyons, Simon still prefers seascapes. Later, Laura Collins came into the office to report the contract of Dick Cook, chairman of the film and television department of the Disney Group, expires this year. I said that I have no plans to renew the contract, and I am ready to leave Disney. Laura Collins reported a big news as soon as she came in. Simon nodded and said lightly, he has been at Disney for many years, and he has always been in charge of Disney's live-action movies, but in the past few years, except for the live-action movies with producer Jerry Bruckheimer, I think other live-action movies were not very successful. Has Disney leaked any information on the successor? Laura Collins shook her head and smiled helplessly. No, Disney didn't announce a replacement. By the way, is there any news of high-level departure from Warner Brothers? Simon asked suddenly. After all, the future chairman of Disney Pictures is Alan Horn, the current head of Warner Brothers. Pictures. That's not true. At present, Warner Brothers has not heard of replacing the top management. Simon pressed his temples. It is estimated that after Dick Cook leaves, before Alan Horn enters Disney, there should be a replacement in the middle. However, Simon doesn't care much about Disney's live-action movies. At present, Disney's box office guarantee is still Pixar's feature-length animation. Fortunately, I took the lead in getting Marvel. In order to make a difference in the live-action movie market, Disney's biggest reliance now is to adapt early Disney animations into live-action movies. At night, Simon drove alone to the Normandy Club in West Hollywood for recreation. In the dim light, Simon leaned on the sofa drinking wine in the quiet environment, and suddenly there was a restlessness not far away. Simon squinted and looked over. A tall and mighty bald head was holding a coquettish girl there. Lamar Odom and Khloe Kardashian of the Los Angeles Lakers. The series Walking with the Kardashians is still produced by Zinghe Entertainment. Simon is still somewhat clear about several exposed characters of the Kardashian family. As for Lamar Odom, Simon is even more familiar with it. The Lakers are very strong this year. Isn't the Lakers in the second round of the playoffs with the Rockets, and Lamar Odom is still out clubbing at night. Simon took a few glances, and then leaned back on the sofa to himself. Simon left after nearly an hour at the bar. Simon then drove directly to where Jessica Alba lived in Santa Monica. Jessica Alba spends most of her time in Santa Monica, Los Angeles, because she is now so focused on running the honest company she founded. Well, it's so late? Why did you come here? Jessica Alba smelled alcohol after welcoming Simon in. Simon smiled and explained, I just remember when I graduated before, and now I can't help but go to a bar during the graduation season. It's a little nostalgic for the past. Taking off his coat, Simon sat on the sofa and took a sip of the milk handed by the girl, feeling helpless. Hangover. Jessica Alba explained with a smile after watching Simon put it down after only one sip. Looks like you've only been invited to play one show this year? Simon asked about Jessica Alba's work status. Jessica Alba, dressed in silk pajamas, sat next to Simon and said with a smile, Valentine's Day, directed by Gary Marshall, Julia Roberts and Anne Hathaway. Everyone is involved, I'm just a supporting role, really. Gary Marshall directed Pretty Woman back then, and it's not bad. Simon is also quite casual, and the current romance films will not be the focus of Xinghai. After all, romantic comedies have always been a small cost, and the box office is too lucky the romantic comedy Fake Marriage to be released by Xinghai Pictures this year is also a low-cost process in operation. And Sandra Bullock is also a female star with a lot of box office guarantees for romantic comedies. It can be considered to be able to compete with a Love King Julia Roberts in the 1990s, but now even Julia Roberts has no box office guarantee that year. By the way, I recently received another script, a thriller with Casey Affleck, Jessica Alba said, frowning. Casey Affleck is Ben Affleck's brother, and now Ben Affleck has a bad reputation. Simon smiled, because many things about Harvey Weinstein were exposed, and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, who were Harvey's young horses, were affected a lot, although not as much targeted as George Clooney for offending Simon Pike. However, Simon Parker doesn't have a good impression of this group of people. And Xinghai Entertainment will basically not have anything to do with them. Forget it, the movies that Casey Affleck participated in are basically the works of Ben Affleck or Matt Damon. This guy's character is really not good. Simon smiled and said casually, you're not bad at resources, there's no need to mess with this kind of scum. Casey Affleck was not a good person thing. Wouldn't the women who were violated also sued in the future? Oh, I see, I'll tell the agent tomorrow. Jessica Alba didn't want to take on too many dramas in the past 2 years, and now even Simon has said it, it's even better. Afterwards, Jessica Alba sat down in Simon's arms and said coquettishly, have you stayed here for a few days? Simon raised his eyebrows and rubbed the girl while smiling. It depends on your performance. Then the two began to kiss on the sofa, and their clothes were peeling off one by one. Simon then walked into the room with a sexy Jessica Alba dry material and fire, beautiful hero. The two fell asleep exhausted after fighting in the middle of the night. The next day, the two woke up under the sunlight until more than 10 o'clock, messy. Sure enough, it was chocolate for everyone. Simon looked at Jessica Alba's perfect figure beside him, and couldn't help but gently sketched on the girl's back. Well, it's time to take a bath. The girl yawned and sat up, completely ignoring the boundless spring. Simon nodded and said with a smile, let's go wash together. After speaking, he hugged the girl and went straight to the bathroom. Chapter 290. Plop. Simon woke up early in the morning and jumped into the swimming pool in Jessica Alba's yard, rolling up waves. Simon leaned against the pool to rest for a while after swimming back and forth, and then saw the glamorous Jessica Alba come down to the pool in a swimsuit. No wonder it's someone who is often on the list of sexy actresses, Simon muttered inwardly as he smiled and watched the girl swim in the water. Beauty is good, but still can't waste too much time. After chatting with the girls in the pool, Simon had breakfast and was ready to go to work. The summer season has always been an important note in the fierce battle of major film companies. A low-cost action film, Hurricane Rescue, first released by Xinghai Pictures, came out on top in the middle of the year. The Hangover 1 was also fully released in North America, and the biggest competitor in the same period was the classic Star Trek 11 restarted by Paramount. Nina Jacobson, head of Xinghai Pictures, is sitting in her office, checking the current movie release schedule. The Star Trek series is one of the few famous series from Paramount, and that J.J. Abrams has been in the TV circle before, and it seems that it was discovered by Tom Cruise. The opportunity to direct the first movie or the blockbuster Spy, Impossible 3, Nina Jacobson smiled helplessly. Star Trek 11 is an old-fashioned series with huge influence. I didn't think Paramount would have the courage to give it to J.J. Abrams. After all, J.J. Abrams' Lost in TV circles really made him famous, but Spy, Impossible 3 has a bad reputation. It even caused Summer Redstone to lose sight of it and cancelled his multi-year partnership with Tom Cruise. Paramount previously had the popular series Transformers produced by DreamWorks Pictures, and also had the distribution rights of DreamWorks Animation, and last year, it released the classic series Indiana Jones 4 that was restarted by Lucasfilm. Although Paramount released these films very well, but the partners are not simple. The Star Trek series is Paramount's own golden egg. This restart seems to be something that can't be underestimated. Nina Jacobs, the assistant beside Sen, explained. Nina Jacobson nodded and said subconsciously, 20th Century Fox's Night at the Museum 2 and Sony's Angels and Demons, which will be released next week, are both sequel movies, and the box office is not expected to be low. We have Twilight, adapted from a novel that has attracted much attention, in June, and Thor by Marvel Studios in July. These two films are our masterpieces this summer, and everyone must do their best. As a movie with huge fans, It is still unknown whether Twilight can be turned into a box office, but from the current publicity effect and the feedback received, this Twilight is undoubtedly very impressive. Looking forward to a movie in May, Simon focused not only on his own films, but also on the Nets playoff trip. The Nets' opponents in the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs, the Cavaliers, were also eliminated by a total score of 4-2. Next, the Nets will face the Magic in the Eastern Conference Finals, and if they can win, they will enter the finals. I'm excited to think about it. The Lakers are the champions of the Western Conference. Even if they enter the finals, they probably won't win. The Lakers, Simon muttered while sitting on the sofa. Moreover, the current strength gap between the East and the West is too large. The strength of the Eastern champion is estimated to be the strength of the third or fourth in the West. Boss, the opening result of The Hangover is out, and it's $45 million in North America. Laura Collins, who came in, reported the good results with excitement. Well, not bad. Simon nodded calmly. By the way, what is the total box office of Star Trek 11 now? It seems that this movie is only released a week before The Hangover? Simon asked. Laura Collins shrugged and said, Star Trek 11 has been released for 10 days now, and the total North American box office has reached $148 million. After all, the previous opening score was $75 million. Hey, this is turning over. Simon said, stunned, but what he thought was that Tom Cruise's eyes are really poisonous. J.J. Abrams is a TV circle. The director was discovered to be the director of a blockbuster movie. By the way, has J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot film signed a cooperation agreement with Paramount? This guy is indeed a rare talent, whether it is TV or film. With that, it's an exclusive cooperation agreement for several years. Unless the Paramount film of Bad Robot Pictures doesn't like or supports it, other companies will have a chance, Laura Collins said with a helpless smile. Brad Pitt's Plan B films, now J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot films. It appears Paramount has replaced Tom Cruise after ending its partnership with Tom Cruise. The search for the product has not stopped, Simon smiled, but fortunately he didn't care much. After all, many directors and producers have long-term partners, but it's not necessarily that the company is in. Paramount's current economic situation should not be very good. Neither Relativity Media nor Legendary Entertainment have cooperated with it, Simon said, holding his head. The investment in Star Trek 11 is not small. Which film and television company is Paramount cooperating with? Telescope Entertainment, that's it. Simon, of course, knew about this entertainment company, and some similar to Roadshow Pictures, an American company owned by Australia's Roadshow Entertainment, but the plate is not as big as Roadshow Pictures. Telescope Entertainment is a film company invested by the German media group Kirsch Group and the Italian media equipment manufacturer Mediaset. The important thing is that this Telescope Entertainment will acquire MGM Entertainment, which is about to go bankrupt, in the future. After Laura Collins was out, Simon quickly checked MGM's movie plans for this year and next. Pink Panther 2 is a low-budget comedy, which will make some money. Subway Horror, a thriller starring Denzel Washington, is a medium-sized production that will hit the street at the box office. Famous, another musical. These in recent years, the successful musical is Chicago in 2003. Simon shook his head. MGM is really rotten. If there's number 007 series, it should have closed its doors long ago. It is too difficult to always pursue the big star system and the successful musicals of early MGM, and innovative companies that do not understand. Tom Cruise, as a partner of Lionsgate Pictures, a subsidiary of MGM, has also produced two films in the past few years. The political thriller Lion in the Mouth and action target Hitler adapted from real events, one hit the street, and the other was mediocre. Next year, Telescope Entertainment's merger with MGM, which is about to go bankrupt, is doomed. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291. San Diego, a coastal city in the southwest corner of Southern California, is the second largest city in California after Los Angeles. A huge luxury Mediterranean-style new villa in Rancho Santa Fe, a seaside town north of San Diego. The huge villa is close to 15,000 feet in size, surrounded by 8 acres of land plus a private beach. This is a luxury villa that was just renovated last year in 2008. It was found by Simon and bought for $25 million. About 100 miles from Los Angeles, and even closer to Mexico, less than 30 miles from the border. San Diego's climate is typically Mediterranean, more pleasant than Los Angeles, and the scenery is unparalleled. Quiet, private, and less crowded, much better than the hustle and bustle of Los Angeles. Simone was here to host Dick Cook, the director of Disney's film division, who is about to leave the film and television giant. I've been working at Disney since I was 20 years old, as a train driver at Disneyland, and then Disney established Touchstone Pictures to develop adult films, and I was slowly transferred to the film and television distribution department. Dick Cook is sitting at the moment. The opposite of Simon seems to be reminiscing. Until 2000, I became the chairman of the film and television department of the group, and it has been 37 years now. Dick Cook is 57 years old and has worked for Disney for 37 years. Xinghe Entertainment is currently expanding its international distribution business, and at the same time we need someone with experience like you in both the home entertainment market and the children's market. Simon, of course, is trying to bring Dick Cook over. After all, he has a wealth of family entertainment, as well as experience and resources for children's market development. At the same time, Dick Cook left Disney because Disney is now shrinking in the family market after acquiring Pixar. Pixar's animated feature films became a big box office guarantee for Disney. The group's CEO, Robert Iger, previously hoped to acquire Marvel Entertainment because he hoped to make more achievements in live-action movies, but it was a pity that it was too late. My contract is due to expire in September. I want to think about it first. Dick Cook certainly understands the characteristics of Xinghe Entertainment. He is almost unmatched in the development of live-action movies. Now he's entering animated feature films and fully expanding the international market distribution business, of course, but I hope you can join us. Animated feature films. Lighting Entertainment under our animation department will release the first animated feature film next year. Simon seemed confident. We're also loved by a lot of teenage audiences right now, but we're still inexperienced in the family entertainment kids market. With Dick Cook's advantages and Disney's many years of family entertainment, it can still make up for the lack of Xinghe. Moreover, Dick Cook can also serve as the Chief Operating Officer, COO, of Xinghe Entertainment, so that Nina Jacobson can spend more time on the film production she is familiar with in various film investment funds. Most importantly, Simon has more time on his own. From the chairman of Disney's film department to the operating officer of Xinghe Entertainment, it is not a disgrace to Dick Cook. After all, there are 4 major divisions in the Disney Group, and the most important is the television division, which includes the ABC television network, Disney Channel, and sports channel ESPN, followed by the Disney Resorts and Consumer Goods division, which includes Disneyland and thousands of Disney stores. Then there's Disney Pictures and Disney Interactive Entertainment. The most important thing in Disney Pictures is Pixar Studios. In terms of live-action movies, Disney is definitely not as good as Xinghe Pictures, which is owned by Xinghe Entertainment. Dick Cook smiled, then nodded again, and said, "I will officially leave Disney in September. Recently, I just handed over my work, and then spent more time with my family. Then we will officially go back to work." Talk about that. Simon nodded. No way. This guy has worked at Disney for 37 years, he must have feelings for Disney. Disney Pictures should find someone to replace you. Now, the major and medium-sized film companies have not heard of important people being transferred. Which independent production company should be the person in charge? Or an independent producer with a Wall Street background? The movies developed by the studios are all good, and after you left, the pressure on Disney is even greater, Simon said and smiled. Harvey Weinstein's Miramax used to support the scene, and now, it's also Robert Iger's headache. The success rate of animation adaptations of live-action movies is not so high. That evening, Simon and Dick Cook separated after a dinner in San Diego. "Boss, are you going back to Los Angeles now or where?" the bodyguard asked. Seeing Simon standing outside the store in a daze, Simon shook his head and said, "Stay here for the past few days." Compared with Los Angeles, there are far fewer reporters here in the evening. Simon called Nina Jacobson again, talking about Dick Cook and asking about the Cannes International Film Festival, which is now taking place the next day. Simon drove alone through the Coronado Bridge over the San Diego Bay to this Coronado Island, and deliberately stayed at the Coronado Hotel, one of the historic landmarks in the United States. It is said that King Edward VI of England met Mrs. Simpson at the Coronado Hotel, and the two fell in love. Edward VI abdicated to Henry VI in order to marry Mrs. Simpson. Edward VI became the famous Duke of Windsor, a typical example of loving beauty but not loving the country. In the open-air cafe below the hotel, Simon sips coffee while admiring the beach. Is beautiful. After all, San Diego Bay is the second largest naval base in the United States, and there are many warships. The USS Midway Museum is parked in San Diego Bay for tours. Well, isn't it Kristen Stewart? Simon suddenly found a young girl wearing big sunglasses, walking to the table next to Simon while smoking a cigarette. It's Mr. Simon Parker. Good afternoon. Kristen Stewart seemed to recognize Simon Parker, dropped the cigarette from his mouth and came over to greet Simon. Kristen Stewart has her own personality, but Simon Parker is a Hollywood mogul and the one who cast her for the lead role in Twilight. The movie will be released next month, and publicity activities will be indispensable at that time. Simon was about to talk about her image, but she held back. The softness in the movie is only from the show. This guy is a crazy pursuit, exciting beauty. Sit down, smoke, just smoke. Simon doesn't recommend others to smoke, anyway, he sometimes smokes. Kristen Stewart sat down immediately. Chapter 292 Double-Faced Beauty. Near the Coronado Hotel, Simon and Kristen Stewart chatted while strolling on the beach. Kristen Stewart was originally a little reserved, but Simon was also a young man and had no air, so he chatted. I came here from Los Angeles today to relax for a few days. Twilight will be released next month, and we will be going overseas to promote it in many places. Kristen Stewart said the novel Twilight is very popular, and now that the movie is about to be released, it has attracted a lot of attention among teenagers. Of course, the exposure rate of the three protagonists is more. Simon nodded. Kristen Stewart wore a white off-the-shoulder t-shirt with a pair of denim shorts, and her long black hair was casually tangled. Her figure is good, so casual dress also looks very street. This film company values it very much, and I believe it will be successful, Simon said, smiling again, and said, when the time comes, you will be a teen idol. The romantic and charming Coronado white sand beach is paired with handsome men and beautiful women, and before you know it, Simon and Kristen Stewart have been walking along the beach for a long time. The tomboys of the past can now act as gentle and lovely girls, Simon joked as they sat side by side on a beach. No, actually acting is my job, and it's not that important to be a star. Kristen Stewart thought of something, and continued, my mother is Australian. If I have the chance, I actually want to go to my mother's hometown XN to make a movie. Simon turned his head to look at Kristen Stewart and smiled. It's really, there is a chance to go to Australia to film. Go back. Do you live on the island or in the city? Simon stood up and asked, and stretched his waist. Just at the Hotel Coronado. I came here to relax, Kristen Stewart said, pulling out a cigarette and taking a puff on it. Do you want it? Simon nodded with a smile, then took the one she just lit from Kristen Stewart, and the girl lit another one for herself. Simon smoked a cigarette and looked at Kristen Stewart beside him. Who would have thought that the gentle and lovely heroine in the movie Twilight was actually a wild and rebellious girl? After the two returned to the vicinity of the Coronado Hotel, after hugging, Simon smiled and said, how is tonight? Are you happy? It's not bad. I'm very happy to meet the famous Simon Parker. This is the dream of many girls. Kristen Stewart started acting very early, of course. She has a good understanding of the entertainment industry. Getting to know Simon Pike is really hard. Simon smiled and reached out to touch the girl's beautiful cheek, and praised, it's really beautiful, and the temperament is different. Afterwards, Simon lowered his head and slowly kissed Kristen Stewart. That evening, Simon took the plunge and spent the night in a hotel room with Kristen Stewart. After a night, they didn't wake up until 10 o'clock in the morning the next day. Simon, who was lying in bed, suddenly thought of the Hollywood four little actresses mentioned in the future newspapers: Amanda Seyfried, Emma Roberts, Blake Lively, and now Kristen Stewart laying beside her. Amanda Seyfried has had a relationship with herself, Blake Lively has always had a relationship, and now Kristen Stewart has. As for Emma Roberts, she seems to have nothing to do with herself, but because she is Julia Roberts' niece, she has no shortage of resources in the entertainment industry. Well, you work out every day, you're in great shape. Most film company bosses are bald and fat pigs. Kristen Stewart smiled while stroking Simon's body. Are you talking about the Hollywood producer of The Bald Fat Pig who cameoed Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder? Simon was amused, and this guy's character was also directly stated. Then, Simon rolled over on the girl and kissed Kristen Stewart's mouth. After a while, the room turned into a beautiful scene again. After the two got up and took a shower, it was time for lunch. I'll be at the Los Angeles premiere of Twilight next month, Simon and Kristen Stewart said when they parted. Well, I'm going to the Cannes Film Festival with the crew, and I'll be in Cannes for 3 days to promote the film and attend the closing ceremony, Kristen Stewart said. Simon nodded. He didn't know the news. After all, There were so many movies that he couldn't even understand the way of publicity. Asking Nina Jacobson earlier was just to see if there were any good movies to buy for distribution. It is also good to go to Cannes to promote it. You can hold the world premiere there, and the European side will take a reassurance first. After leaving Coronado Island, Simon returned to the Rancho Santa Fe villa in San Diego to recuperate. At this time, Nina Jacobson of the Xinghe headquarters in Burbank, Los Angeles, had just returned to Los Angeles from China. Stayed in China for a few days, received a story from Simon about Dick Hook, plus there was not much about the company, and Disney's Robert Iger was back. Early negotiations between Disney and Shanghai, China are still unsuccessful, so there's really no need to stay in China. In the office, the assistant quickly reported the current work progress. Ms. Kristen Birch, president of marketing, has arranged for the world premiere of Twilight in Cannes. The announcement plan for Thor has also been made. The reception of The Hangover overseas was also very good, and Ms. Birch's report was also done well. Mr. Pike has found a person in charge for Aurora Films, and I need you to meet him. Nina Jacobson gave a wry smile after hearing this. Aurora Pictures has only invested in and released The Orphans. She thought that Simon didn't care about Aurora Pictures, a B-level film label that focuses on horror and thrillers. Jason Bran? Nina Jacobson took the information about the person Simon was looking for, a young producer, and he was in charge of the production of Smart, Ghost Recording. I see, you can go out. Nina Jacobson has no objection. After all, the positioning of this Aurora Pictures is a low-cost heterogeneous market. Smart, Ghost Recording was originally just a pseudo-documentary filmed by DV. When the DVD was released, the producer asked the director to reshoot and then edit it. Later, Smart, Ghost Recording will be arranged to enter the theater, and editing will definitely be required. Then there's Jason Bran, a young, up-and-coming producer focusing on low-budget horror films. After all, in this way, Venus Pictures has Ashley Brax, and Aurora Pictures has Jason Bran, so he can focus on Xinghe Pictures in the future, and Marvel Pictures still needs himself. Chapter 293 Netflix and Amp Choice. Off the coast of Los Angeles, Simon's privately built super-large luxury yacht Polaris is having a big party. Polaris is 380 feet long, with luxurious interior decoration and a value of $200 million. It was built by a Dutch shipyard and has not only 15 suites, but also a swimming pool, gym, spa, massage room and theater, as well as a helipad and so on. Started to use it in May. This time Simone intends to celebrate a box office hit of Xinghe Pictures. The main personnel of Hurricane Rescue, The Hangover and many other Hollywood stars who have cooperated with Xinghe Film are there in a conference room on the top floor of the yacht. Simon was chatting with visiting Luc Besson about the success of Hurricane Rescue. Liam Neeson seems to be still growing old. The action design in the movie is really outstanding. The preparations for the next one should be ready, Simon said with a smile. Luc Besson also smiled, touched the wine glass with Simon, and said, "There is definitely no problem with the sequel. If there is no accident, it will be released next year. The release in North America is still up to you. If this kind of movie doesn't have a sequel, it's a fool. If it comes out, it must come out." Simon nodded. Some of the action films that Luc Besson tinkered with are not high cost for Hollywood and belong to genre films. It is indeed rare to see such good results as Hurricane Rescue. Europa Pictures, in Simon's mind, is just a European company that enriches the distribution of its own films. After chatting with Luc Besson, Simon came to the top deck outside the room to admire the Pacific Ocean at dusk. After a while, French Rose Sophie Marceau came to her side to hug. Simon kissed the girl on the face, and said with a smile, this time in Los Angeles, for the US promotion of the movie Don't Look Back, I shouldn't have stayed for a long time, and I just came back from China. Supergirl was just released in China last month, Sophie said. Marceau rarely makes Hollywood films, most of them are French films, and the distribution areas are mainly in Europe and Asia. Supergirl seems to be a war spy film that premiered in Germany last year, and was released in the United States out of theaters. No Looking Back, the one you starred in with Italian actress Monica Bellucci, premiered at Cannes, and distributed in the US by IFC? Simon asked. Sophie Marceau nodded, but co-starring with Monica Bellucci was indeed a gimmick. Tisk tisk tisk, it's a bit interesting for the two European goddesses to perform a drama together, Simon said and smiled. Sophie Marceau was not too excited, asked about another matter, and said, the situation of the documentary film adaptation of Philip Borgo's autobiography Second Breath. Then two directors, Olivier Nakache and Eric Talanda, have already contacted me, And you told me to go to Monaco to get the copyright and then ignore it, and now I have been found. Oh, it can be developed. Don't you have a lot of experience in film production? Xinghe International Pictures French branch invests and distributes. Maybe you can enter Hollywood. Simon almost forgot about this. Second Breath is the future untouchable, a famous box office bomb in the history of French cinema. This kind of film, if you only consider the French market, the cost is not high. According to the Hollywood industrial method, it will be a little more, but it will not exceed $15 million. Sophie Marceau has been in the entertainment industry for decades. Actor, the screenwriter, director and producer have all done it. Of course I understand well, because it is a French film produced by Xinghe Films, we can still get some support from the French Film Fund and the European Cultural Fund, Sophie Marceau said, smiling herself, trying to get the fund to support this aspect. Hollywood production companies are very proficient, and Mosquito Meat is also Meat Hahua. Kaixing Pictures will assist you. Now the North American distribution of overseas movies is done by Xinghe Kaixing Pictures, Simon said, reaching out and touching Sophie Marceau's face. I'll take you somewhere tonight. Really? Sophie Marceau shook her head with a smile and asked, what about Eva Green, who was by your side before, and is also one of my little fellows? Did she stay in Los Angeles all the time? Simon shook his head and smiled. I spend most of my time in Europe, and I will stay here when there are movie plans. Okay, I'll chat with a few friends first. You can also take care of your own affairs. You are very busy. Sophie Marceau saw Nina Jacobson bring a man over to her, then left. Nina Jacobson brought with him Reed Hastings, the founder and chairman of Netflix. After the three of them were seated, they quickly began to chat. After all, Xinghe Entertainment now has a lot of Netflix stocks compared with a current market value of Netflix of more than $2 billion. The size of Xinghe is tantamount to being much larger. Reed, I believe you also know what we mean by Xinghe. We are also thinking about entering streaming media online platforms. Netflix is a video service that I am optimistic about. Simon finally expressed his meaning directly. Reed Hastings frowned and said helplessly, Netflix's current main service is the rental and customization of DVD or Blu-ray discs, and online streaming. Simon smiled, took out a brochure and put it on the coffee table. Reed Hastings saw the big characters Netflix Culture Handbook on the cover at a glance. It was not an internet PPT that he sent out this month. Documentation. Silicon Valley. A lot of people in it are very optimistic about this document, and so do I, Simon said, looking at Reed Hastings again, and continued, I know a lot about streaming media. Yahoo.com was the first one I invested in and then sold it to Google. As for why it was sold, it was because Hollywood and Silicon Valley had too many entanglements in terms of commercial rights. The DVD market is getting worse every year. You know the predicament of Blockbuster, and I also know that Netflix is transforming into streaming media. Last year, you have cooperated with many film and television distribution platforms such as Starz, Showtime, FX, USA, and ABC. Signed a copyright contract. Your registered members will exceed 10 million this year. Reed Hastings nodded. None of this was a secret. Hollywood elites are not stupid. Now the contracts you sign are not expensive, not only because movies and TV are not new movies, but also because many people don't notice the power of streaming media, Simon said to Reed Huss. Tin's eyes continued to speak. What happens when they see the growth of Netflix? The price of film and television digital rights is soaring. How much money does Netflix have to acquire a large number of film and television rights to enrich? Last year you spent more than $600 million on film and television. And you still can't buy online digital rights to the latest theatrical blockbuster. Perhaps you've thought about making your own TV like HBO, AMC? Simon said, staring straight at Reed Hastings. What do you think Netflix can do? Don't forget that there is a Hulu in Hollywood that is also available online. Go back and think about it. You know Xinghe Entertainment's production capabilities, and you don't have to worry about financial resources. By joining Xinghe Entertainment, Netflix can stand on the shoulders of Hollywood and develop. Otherwise Netflix will use Hollywood as its enemy, from beginning to end. Reed Hastings said very little. After all, Simon was really angry because of Reed Hastings. How powerful is Netflix now? If you don't give a face, it's really like Xinghe Entertainment begging for an acquisition. Content is king, but it's not a casual talk. Reed Hastings also had a serious look on his face when he left, and Netflix's hopes of developing before everyone reacted were dashed. Since Simon Parker has been paying attention for so long, there must be a way, even if Netflix does not agree to Xinghe's normal acquisition. But Netflix is now a listed company, And as long as Zinghe Entertainment spends more money and time, it is not a problem at all with Simon Pike around. His importance has also been greatly reduced, and Reed Hastings has nothing but helplessness in his heart. What's more, the conditions for Netflix to open are actually not low. Cash plus Zinghe Entertainment's shares. You must know that Zinghe Entertainment's shares are recognized by Wall Street as a sweet pastry. Simon Pike's use of it does show that he is optimistic about Netflix. Chapter 294 CAA Sports. Are you too strong just now to fight back without fear of Reed Hastings rejecting us? Nina Jacobson said when there were only 2 people left. How? Counterattack. What size is Netflix now, and what counterattack can it do? With a poison pill plan, can he persuade other shareholders not to be interested in Zinghe's shares? Simon shook his head and was really not afraid. Netflix's situation does have its own advantages. After all, there is still a certain market for DVDs. Their current nearly 9 million members are all high-quality customers. If it really doesn't work, I can support another online on-demand website at any time, or create an online website with other media groups to compete with Hulu. What else will Netflix have at that time? Relying on self-made dramas, relying on ratings and recommendations, and relying on the entire series to be launched at the same time. With themselves, they can only be followers in the back. After all, in terms of capital and the relationship between Hollywood, Netflix is not enough to watch. Netflix is not the stupid and rich Netflix in the future. Don't worry, Reed Hastings is a smart man. He sees the situation clearly. Joining Zinghe is the best choice. Content production is their biggest shortcoming, and now Hollywood values them only me. In the future, he will also be one of the executives of the Zinghe Group, and it is not a loss for him at all. Simon finally left the room, leaving Nina Jacobson with a helpless smile. Such a luxurious yacht, coupled with a lot of Hollywood actresses, is not an exaggeration to describe it as a drunken fan. Simon met many people along the way, whether they were familiar or unfamiliar, and they all chatted enthusiastically. Cheers. CAA's Brian Lord and Simon touched glasses. CAA has already wooed Susan White of AC Brokerage Company to strengthen the cooperation with Zinghe Entertainment. The films produced by Zinghe Pictures are now more powerful than each other. Not only is Susan White one of the 6 partners, but the right to speak is also growing without him. Susan White's AC Brokerage Company was founded by the former Zinghe veteran Sonia Roman. This relationship can basically make Susan White invincible. Brian, your CAA sports department has developed really fast in the past 2 years, Simon said and smiled. The overlord of sports brokerage has always been the IMG Group. After CAA established a sports department in 2006, it invaded the sports department in the American football market. A large part of it is now the agency of CAA, and of course the basketball market. The main target of CAA's poaching is the IMG Group. Simon, the Miami Dolphins and the New Jersey Nets. If you need anything, I think our CAA will satisfy you. As the current helm of the CAA, Brian Lord is not a fool. Simon nodded and said, the 3+1 contract signed by LeBron James of the Cavaliers with the Cavaliers will be the 3rd year next year. Can the Cavaliers keep him? Brian Lord nodded. This year, the Cavaliers were slaughtered by the Nets in the 2nd round of the playoffs, which indeed made many people not optimistic about the future of the Cavaliers. Simon, do you want to bring James to the Nets? Brian Lord smiled. As the MVP of the regular season, LeBron James led the Cavaliers in the first place in the regular season, although he did not perform well in the playoffs. However, the Cavaliers are LeBron James' hometown team, and the Cavaliers champion rookie that year. Everyone can see the future of the Nets. After the regular season starts next year, the team will open a new stadium. The attraction of a metropolis like New York is extraordinary, Simon said with a smile. In the Cavaliers, he currently has no chance to win the championship. Cleveland's market can't support other strong players, and James can't get help. Brian Lord nodded. LeBron James' popularity is unquestionable. Even if he leaves Cleveland, he must join a team capable of winning the championship. However, the development of the Nets in the past few years is also very good. The rookies selected are all excellent young people, and they have the experience of the veteran Chauncey Billups, which can be expected. CAA currently has a lot of strong players. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade and Allen Iverson are all their customers. If you don't give him eye drops now, CAA will make every effort to promote the Heat's Big Three next year. Can Simon bear this? And last year, CAA bought the company of Portuguese agent Mendes, and football coach Jose Mourinho and Cristiano Ronaldo are also their clients, not to mention David Beckham, who joined LA Galaxy from Real Madrid 2 years ago. is represented by CAA. David Beckham didn't play a few games in Los Angeles before he was sent to AC Milan in Italy by you. This year, you are expected to lead Cristiano Ronaldo to join Real Madrid in Spain. It seems that it is another one. A record-breaking transfer fee. Simon's side David went to AC Milan to stay in shape for next year's World Cup. Ronaldo hasn't decided yet. Who did you hear that he was going to Real Madrid? Brian Lord smiled helplessly. Cristiano Ronaldo, the leader, is still his agent Mendes. Although CAA is the backstage of Mendes' company, Mendes himself has the right to decide. Haha, isn't it obvious? Hasn't it been officially announced that Kaká, the winner of the 2007 Ballon d'Or, has joined Real Madrid? The current president of Real Madrid is operating according to the standards of the Galaxy battleship. It is not normal for the winner of the Ballon d'Or last year to join, unless Manchester United and Barcelona's Champions League final 3 days later. Can Manchester United defeat Barcelona to defend the title in the game? Has any team defended the title for so many years? Simon said casually. Cristiano Ronaldo's joining Real Madrid must be after the Champions League. Simon, you seem to know a lot about European football too? Brian Lord's focus was different, and he seemed to hear other meanings from Simon's words. It is rumored that Simon Pike is interested in English football. Well, Simon smiled at Brian Lord and said, I now have an NFL team and an NBA team, can't I have another football club? Brian Lord nodded. There are many American businessmen investing in football now, and Simon's thoughts are normal. Have you considered which country's football league? Brian Lord asked. In addition to the Premier League with the best business operation, which other team can impress the capitalists in the United States? Simon pointed out directly, as for which team it is, I have to study it. After all, there are not many choices. Brian Lord also opened his mouth in surprise. With Simon's method, he must be thinking about business. It is estimated that the team market is also something he needs to consider. It seems that the entertainment industry is not enough for him to play and vigorously develop the sports circle. It turns out that, then I hope we will have more opportunities to cooperate in the future. We are also expanding the European sports field. CAA is currently discussing the introduction of capital, Brian Lord said. Why Parker is partnering with CAA. After all, when it comes to sports and entertainment, CAA is not the dominant class. Simon nodded. It is estimated that it is Texas Pacific Capital, TPG. In the future, the largest shareholder of CAA will be the private equity fund TPG. It seems that the Chinese Culture Fund is also one of the shareholders of CAA. Chapter 295 Different Venice. In the evening, Simon took Sophie Marceau to the Black Stallion Winery along the Silver Mine Trail in Oak Hills, Napa Valley, north of San Francisco. It was the vineyard winery that Simon gave to Tong Liao before. Simon was going to change its name to Zimo Winery, but because the wine produced is the Black Horse Winery, the winery is still the Black Horse Winery. Bringing Sophie Marceau over, it must have been a good in-depth exchange that night, and the stone house of the Black Horse Winery is also unique. The next day, Simon and Sophie Marceau strolled along the nearby river, chatting about trivial matters. I also have a vineyard castle estate in Bordeaux, but I don't have much time to go there myself, Sophie Marceau said with a smile and looked at Simon. I mostly spend most of my time in Paris, or go to other places to film and shoot commercials or something. Bordeaux, the winery is very famous for its plantations. If I have the opportunity, I will also buy a vineyard with a castle, haha. Simon is actually not very interested in European-style castles. After all, good castles cost money to manage, and they are all cultural relics. As for the general new-style castle, there is no historical culture, and it is of little significance. Okay, next time you come to France, I will treat you well, Sophie Marceau said, hugging Simon. The two have come to the exit of the manor, and Sophie Marceau has something to leave. Last night, what a wonderful and unforgettable night, Sophie Marceau finally said before getting into the car. Alice, French woman, Simon muttered as he watched the car go away. The French kiss can't resist the erosion of time. It is indeed getting old. Of course, Simon's intention to come to the Black Horse Winery is not only because of Sophie Marceau, but also because Tong Liao is coming to San Francisco to film her role in Tai Chi 2 days later. On the day of the 2008-2009 European Champions Cup Finals, Tong Liao came to San Francisco, and was taken over by Simon to the Black Horse Winery. How many holiday homes have you built? Tong Liao, who came to the Black Horse Winery, had a good tour of the winery. She was still a little happy to see Simon building a few more holiday homes anyway. It is to attract tourists to come and play, and this style has a Chinese pastoral style. It may attract some Chinese tourists in the future, Simon said with a smile. After all, Tai Chi is also going to be shot here, isn't it? Tai Chi will definitely be a big seller in China. Not bad. Tong Li had no objection. After all, the main time is to stay in the country. Do you have a lot of scenes? When will you shoot? Simon asked. Although Tong Li is a supporting role in Tai Chi, she should still have some scenes, right? Oh, not much, I'm just a small supporting role. I will officially shoot in the middle of next month. Come and get acquainted with it in advance. Tong Li also plays a second-generation Chinese immigrant who is helpful to the male and female characters. The ranch owner? Okay, Tai Chi has been filmed here for almost 2 months, and everything is normal. How is the public opinion in China? Simon asked. After all, the $60 million Sino-US co-production film. The response has been great, but now the privacy is very good, and there is no publicity material in China, Tong Li said excitedly. After all, it is really lucky to be able to participate in this level of project. By the way, I found out in China recently that Xinghai Entertainment seems to be making a big move in China, saying that it is going to build a movie theme park resort in Shanghai, and many media are reporting. Tong Li thought of something, and then added, continue to speak. A movie theme park resort has this idea. Shanghai is the fastest growing place in China and has a large economy. It is indeed our first choice, Simon did think, but now the more important thing is development. In terms of brand influence, nothing compares to Disney. When a few world-class influential movie IPs come out, we can make a fuss. Fortunately, Twilight will be released soon, and with the influence of Marvel Pictures, it is estimated that there will be more at that time. Much more convincing. Most importantly, if you can win NBC Universal Entertainment as soon as possible, relying on the brand influence of Universal Studios, you will get twice the result with half the effort. By the way, how is your Galaxy Culture company doing now? Simon has never really cared about the performance company he invested in China before. Now that Tong Li has come over, he still has to ask. Very well, the company has already invested in 3 TV series. And Ms. Zhou also suggested that we can also invest in some low-cost movies, Tong Li said with a smile, and continued, but you also know that Zheng has some experience in TV dramas. We have no experience in movies, and we can't trouble Ms. Zhou. Ms. Zhou has always been busy at present. Galaxy Culture is indeed mainly an artist broker. Although it is not bad for money, as long as you want, you can bring money into the group. Zheng Jia seems to be a little timid now. As for Ms. Zhou Lixin, the head of Xinghai Entertainment International Pictures in Asia, she is mainly responsible for the marketing of Xinghai Pictures films in Asia, and she is indeed very busy. Really? Now the world is in a severe economic situation. If you have money, you should be able to receive projects from producers or directors at any time. Some small-cost comedies don't cost much. If you think you can participate in it. Simon only suggested that unless he is in China, he can indeed help Galaxy Culture choose a few projects, so that Galaxy Culture can gain a firm foothold as quickly as possible. Tong Li nodded and said, the company has now signed a few more artists, and the investment in TV is also to allow them to have scenes. It makes sense. In fact, you can also develop TV series yourself, and you will bring more people. Simon smiled. Well, in a while, I'm going to go to China to meet officials from the SH city government. Xinghai Entertainment said with great fanfare that it would build a movie theme park in Shanghai, and it would have to show up in the past. Anyway, it was a marathon negotiation process. As the boss of Xinghai Entertainment, it was time for him to come forward. Go to China. I should be there too. Tong Li's eyes lit up. Simon patted Tong Li on the shoulder, smiled and said, okay, let's eat. This is also a winery anyway, we can have a good drink. Saying that, Simon took Tong Li's hand and walked towards the villa. The house you bought for you on Venice Beach has been renovated. You can go there for a few days if you have time. Venice is just northwest of Los Angeles anyway, Simon said as he walked. Okay, Tong Li smiled, and then asked again, in September, our crew is going to the Venice Film Festival to promote Tai Chi. I don't know if you went to China at that time. Venice in California can't compare to the Venice in Italy. One is just a small town of Venice. Venice in Italy is famous for the Venice Film Festival. Chapter 296 Dog Blood Idol. Napa Valley is not far from San Francisco, which is the second largest economic city in California, the financial center of the West Coast, and the technology center of the United States. Neither Xinghai Entertainment nor Nine Birds Capital will relax their attention to San Francisco. The investment department of Xinghai Entertainment needs to pay attention to the development of various social media or film and television technologies, not to mention Nine Birds Fund. The center of the East Coast is in New York, Manhattan. The center of the West Coast is in the financial district of San Francisco. There is no doubt that the West Coast headquarters of Nine Headbirds is in San Francisco. After all, Simon has always attached great importance to the internet. Silicon Valley has always had the office of the Nine-Headed Bird Fund, which keeps an eye on the situation in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, in the Northeast, bordered by Chinatown in the West, and the financial district of the San Francisco Bay in the East. A commercial office building near Pier 3 is the location of the West Coast headquarters of the Nine-Headed Bird Fund. Martha, which one would you say is busier, the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge or the Golden Gate Bridge? Simon asked with a smile, standing at the window looking at the Bay Bridge that spans the San Francisco Bay from San Francisco to Oakland. Here, the Golden Gate Bridge is busy. After all, the Golden Gate Bridge is an important passage connecting the San Francisco Peninsula and California. Martha Cosby smiled helplessly. Her boss should be bored now. Alice, the San Francisco Bay Area consisting of San Francisco, Oakland and San Jose is actually pretty good, and it's second only to the Los Angeles metropolitan area on the West Coast. Simon originally planned to use San Francisco as his headquarters, but he started out in the film and television industry. Los Angeles. The advantage is still better than San Francisco. In recent years, Martha Cosby has mainly been Simon's secretary in the Nine-Headed Bird Fund. She graduated with a major in finance and is considered a professional counterpart. Wells Fargo has been less affected by this financial tsunami. The group is currently acquiring Netflix. Although the company's current capital flow is good, there are more places to spend money, Simon said, turning his head. Look at Martha Cosby, can strengthen some business dealings with Wells Fargo. Boss, we have good relations with HSBC, Bank of America, Deutsche Bank in Europe, and many world-class banks in Credit Suisse. Martha Cosby thought for a while, and then said, these banks basically have investment departments dedicated to film and television culture, and they have always paid attention to Xinghai Entertainment. Simon nodded, then took out his Apple mobile phone, pointed to an app on the screen and said, this is a communication app that was just launched in May, called P. The company was two people who left Yahoo before February this year. It was created by the staff, just in Silicon Valley. You go and contact them. The Nine-Headed Bird Fund hopes to cooperate with them to develop P. The company is financially supported by the Nine-Headed Bird Fund and is responsible for future operations. It is a partnership. Martha Cosby nodded. There are so many new small companies in Silicon Valley every month. Obviously, this P company is just an empty shell. Just launched a simple communication software app. Understood, boss. Do you want to hold P in your hand? Asked Martha Cosby. Yes, I don't care too much about the ideas of their founders. I will give opinions in the future operation and construction, lest they take too many detours. Simon plans to make P an American version of WhatsApp this time. Instead of such as like the original Time and Space, P is just an instant messaging software. The most important thing is that Facebook's acquisition of P in the future will play a big role in Facebook's growth. P, in addition to communication, why not socialize? Display pictures and text are also acceptable. In the summer of 2009, when various film companies were fighting for the box office, Time Warner Group came out with important business spin-off news. Time Warner Group spun off AOL and Time Cable. How crazy was the merger of AOL and Time Warner back then, and how miserable the spin-off is now after the merger in 2000. The immediate tech bubble really took everyone by surprise, and AOL's market value has fallen by more than 90%. Time Cable is one of the cable TV operators. At present, Time Warner Group is left with 4 divisions. 1. Warner Brothers Entertainment, focus on film and television production and distribution, games and new media businesses. 2. Turner Broadcasting Corporation, TNT and other famous news and entertainment TV channels are based on cable TV and online video services. 3. HBO Company, a pay TV business with HBO and MX series channels. 4. Times Publishing Company, mainly publishes a large number of internationally renowned journals, such as Times and Fortune. Simon has always regarded Disney and Time Warner as his ultimate competitors, and has never underestimated these two groups. At the same time, the results of the NBA Eastern Conference Finals were freshly released. What Simon did not expect was that the Nets actually lost to the Magic. Howard played so well. Simon said of the Magic beast Dwight Howard, I always thought that the Nets could play in the finals this year, and they could play one-on-one with the Los Angeles Lakers. Boss, It's almost at the entrance of the Chinese Grand Theater, Laura Collins said in the car. Tonight is the premiere of Twilight, and the boss actually went to understood. Twilight City is an important project of the company in June, and the promotion is also very thoughtful. The novel sells so well, I also want to see how it turns out. According to the original Time and Space, Twilight City is to go released in December of this year. The producer and distributor is of course Summit Entertainment. However, after Summit Entertainment was acquired by Xinghai Entertainment, it was digested, and Twilight also had better publicity strategies and support at the entrance of the Chinese Grand Theater on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Countless fans have gathered around the red carpet, and guests who came to the premiere of the movie have also entered the venue one after another. Comedy star Jim Carrey, Australian star, Wolverine Hugh Jackman, etc. still have several big names. Simon also took a few photos with the film's creators. And when he was holding the heroine Kristen Stewart for a photo, the girl deliberately pinched Simon's waist. Simon looked at the girl, with a sly wink in his eyes, and walked away with a smile. There are 3,720 open theaters for Twilight, and the popularity of the novel does give the movie a great advantage in publicity. Director Catherine Hardwicke, screenwriter Melissa Rosenberg and Stephanie Meyer, also the original author, are both women. Starring Kristen Stewart, Robert Pattinson, Camilla Gandit and Taylor Lautner are also handsome men and women. Of course, Simon will satisfy them with this kind of bloody love idol drama that the Yankees like. Chapter 297, Hot Enough. Twilight is indeed a blast. In the first weekend, 3,720 theaters opened, and the North American box office reached $78.5 million. How are the preparations for the sequel? Asked Simon, who was sitting in the office. Laura Collins responded, preparations for the sequel have already begun, and the film's producer Greg Mordian is discussing the shooting of the sequel with the director of the first film, Ms. Catherine Hardwicke. However, Ms. Catherine Hardwicke seems to have other projects to start. According to our plan, Twilight 2 Crescent should start shooting around the end of the year, and Ms. Catherine Hardwicke may not have enough time. Simon frowned and asked, she has other projects, is it bigger than ours? Laura Collins shook her head and smiled helplessly, should not. I heard that Leonardo DiCaprio's Appian Road production company and Warner Brothers cooperated with the adaptation of the story film Grimm's Fairy Tales Little Red Riding Hood. It should be a thriller version, maybe it should be called Blood Riding Hood more appropriately. So that's it, signed the contract? Simon asked again. Yes, Leonardo DiCaprio, he seems to be busy this year, doing Shutter Island and Inception, one with Paramount, one with Warner Brothers. Ours. When will The Wolf of Wall Street come out? Simon asked. Looking at the current situation, our Wolf of Wall Street is estimated to be released for 12 years. If Xinghai Entertainment invested more funds, it may be earlier, said Laura Collins with a smile, but this should be no. To let Yabi Gudeo Film Company participate is to get Zia Lizzy to pull some sponsorships, right? Xinghai Entertainment controls the distribution. After all, Xinghai Entertainment has a lot of projects in recent years. Okay, did Greg Mordian choose the director of the sequel to Twilight? Simon, of course, is very concerned about the company's series, a proper cash cow. Chris Weitz, who previously directed American Pie and Single Parent Transfer, is 40. Laura Collins responded. Understood. Twilight City is currently the company's key series, and it's good to give the green light in all aspects. Simon didn't have time to pay attention to each film after staying at the company until the night. Simon disappeared into the night alone in his black Lamborghini Bat, walk southeast of Burbank past Glendale, pick up Kristen Stewart and head straight to downtown Los Angeles. Yes, Simon and Kristen Stewart are ready to watch Game 2 of the Lakers Magic Finals. Simon just wanted to see the Los Angeles Lakers abuse the Orlando Magic, who let the Magic beat the Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's a cool car, Kristen Stewart said after sitting down, seeming a little interested in the new car, which just came out this year. Simon smiled. I have about 20 cars in Los Angeles. I bought them myself and others gave them away. There are 4 or 5 Lamborghinis, the rest Ferrari, Aston Martin, Audi, Porsche, etc., and a few more. A domestic classic car. I don't usually drive much, but the Audi R8 is the one I drive a lot. It's low-key, and the shape is in line with my aesthetic. Kristen Stewart nodded and smiled. I made more income after filming Twilight. The money I saved before bought a villa in Glendale. Kristen Stewart has also been a small-scale role before, and Twilight has a salary of $3 million, which is indeed a big income. As the filming of the sequel starts, the remuneration will also increase. And it is estimated that the remuneration will rise to about $15 million when the last film Israella said Twilight is booming. Now you are a teen idol, And all kinds of endorsements will come one after another. Money is also a number for Hollywood stars. Simon shook his head and said casually, not because he could earning a lot of money. How can countless people squeeze their heads and drill into the Hollywood circle red sofas, auditions in hotels, discussions about scripts in the middle of the night, chatting about investments in villas, etc. In a sense, the entertainment industry is the same as a large-scale call-in group. Kristen Stewart just smiled, looked at Simon, and said, but a Hollywood tycoon like you is the top existence, and female stars want to sting by your side like bees. Well, I'm handsome, young and golden. It's not easy to attract the opposite sex. Compared to those old Hollywood directors and fat and bald producers, I'm like the moon shining in the stars, Simon said. I laughed myself. There is no shortage of women, and now my idea is to do something big to entertain myself in this life. The Staples Center in Los Angeles is already full of people at the moment, and the strength of the Magic team is definitely not comparable to the current Lakers. Simon Pike and Kristen Stewart sat on the sidelines watching the game up close. I have to say that the Lakers have done a good job of combining sports and entertainment. Many Hollywood stars and bigwigs on the sidelines are indeed a big bargaining chip to attract fans. Simon regretted that he should not have brought Kristen Stewart over. After all, Kristen Stewart is really hot now. Although Simon and Kristen Stewart watched the game relatively quietly, there was not much communication, but the seats were next to each other. However, Simon believes that tomorrow's newspapers will inevitably be messy, but Simon's advantage is that he is young and handsome. At least it will not destroy Kristen Stewart's popularity in the general public image in the hearts of teenagers. Howard is really strong, and the other starters seem to be playing well, Simon said. On the other side of Simon was the Lakers' diehard and Oscar veteran Jack Nicholson. Haha, the Magic is okay. I thought the Lakers and Cavaliers would meet in the finals this year, but the Cavaliers were eliminated by your Nets in the second round. Jack Nicholson seemed very happy, but a lot of people are looking forward to the showdown between the 23rd and the 24th. Simon shook his head and smiled. If the team has only one core, it is difficult to go far in the playoffs. Isn't the previous Lakers the best example? Simon, of course, was talking about the seasons before Oriole left the Lakers and Gasol hadn't even entered the Lakers. Kobe Bryant alone is just enough to make the playoffs. I seem to have seen the picture of the Lakers holding the cup now. Howard is good, but the Lakers are stronger now, Jack Nicholson said and stood up excitedly. Well, because Kobe Bryant made a three-pointer. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298 Admission Ticket. Unsurprisingly, the Lakers won the Magic in the second game of the finals in the courtyard of Kristen Stewart's villa outside Glendale, Los Angeles. Simon has just parked his car and unbuckled his seatbelt. Well, Kristen Stewart kissed impatiently. Simon also hugged the girl without hesitation and started to respond. After watching the game, the two went to the restaurant to eat something. It was already midnight. Kristen Stewart is wearing a sexy casual t-shirt today, and her hands are on fire while kissing in the silent night. In Kristen Stewart's Glendale villa, the scenery is infinite at the moment. In the dark hall, scattered clothes were thrown on the ground beside the sofa. The two people on the sofa were already fighting fiercely. The next morning, in Kristen Stewart's villa room, Simon, who was lying on the bed, was looking at the ceiling, and with a burst of exhalation, the whole person relaxed. After a while, Kristen Stewart, who got out of the quilt, lay on Simon's chest, gasping for breath. After a while, Simon looked at Kristen Stewart's beautiful blushing face and smiled. Twilight is about to be released. You should be busy, and then you have to start shooting the sequel. Are there any other films to be made? Kristen Stewart responded weakly after hearing it. I also have a youth comedy movie, Adventureland, that will be released next year. Simon nodded without a trace, as long as it didn't affect the release plan of the sequel to Twilight. It was noon when Simon left Kristen Stewart, and of course he didn't go to the company, but went directly back to Beverly Hills. Sir, the car is here. The butler came to Simon's viewing room to report. Simon, who was watching Los Angeles on the sofa, came to his senses, nodded, and then got up and walked out of the room. The car went directly to the King's Wharf by the sea in Los Angeles and boarded an exquisite yacht. Welcome, Simon. A bald old man on the yacht greeted with a smile. Good afternoon, Mr. Diller. Simon had come to meet Barry Diller, the powerful man who dominated Hollywood in his early years. Son of Hollywood, Barry Diller is now in his late 70s. In his 20s, he dropped out of the University of California to join William Morris Agency, and a few years later joined the ABC television network as an assistant to the president. Then, when he was in his 30s, he entered the Paramount Film Group, and after becoming the leader of Paramount, he developed Paramount, which was on the verge of collapse, into the 7 most competitive film groups in Hollywood. After that, he left Paramount and formed the Fox Network, the 4th network in the United States, with Rupert Murdoch of News Corporation. After leaving Fox in 1992, he established an interactive network, which started from TV shopping. Now the interactive network has become a well-known online store in the United States for online shopping, travel, and ticket booking. Simon followed Barry Diller to the yacht's living room and said with a smile, "I've always heard that Mr. Diller is a yacht lover." "It's true." Barry Diller smiled, looking at the young Simon Pike in front of him. He really felt that the future was terrifying. At the age of 27, he took charge of the now fierce Xinghe Entertainment, with a net worth of over $10 billion. Another genius in the hearts of Americans. "Simon, I can't compare to you. Your Polaris is an eye-opener for me. It's really great." Barry Diller's own net worth is not much. Although he can afford the Polaris, yes, but certainly not comparable to Simon Pike. "By the way, Mr. Diller, what do you think about the current situation in Hollywood?" Simon asked with a smile. After all, Barry Diller, as a Hollywood tycoon back then, must have an unusual vision. Barry Diller shook his head and said helplessly, "I have left Hollywood for more than 10 years, and my craftsmanship, technology and other aspects can't keep up with your pace. What can I think of as an old man?" Simon just looked at Barry Diller and smiled and didn't speak. As the creator of TV series and TV movies, how could Barry Diller have no idea? In the face of Simon's eyes, Barry Diller continued, "Simon, Hollywood as a whole, and the market it faces is also the world's market. Hollywood is also an important channel for the spread of American spirit, and many aspects need to be united. Well, Xinghe Entertainment has indeed been too popular recently. Simon also understands the Hollywood system. Xinghe Entertainment's market share has increased too fast, and it has seized the market of other filmmakers. My family will use other means to crack down on Xinghe Entertainment, theaters, MPAA, etc. But after all, the United States is a free economic competition. Xinghe Entertainment is not afraid of some small setbacks now." Simon has confidence in Xinghe Entertainment. Will they unite? The reason Barry Diller is meeting with Simon today is to answer questions as Simon's advisor. Hearing that Simon was worried about the joint targeting of other film companies, he nodded slightly. "It's really a bit difficult to handle. Xinghe's current media system is not perfect. Except for Sony, the 6 major media groups are almost all part of the media group. The competition is indeed too great," Barry Diller continued. After all, when he left the Fox network, I also thought about acquiring a large studio to build a media group when competing for Paramount. They lost to Viacom's Summer Redstone. When they competed for Columbia Pictures, they lost to Sony, and when they competed for Universal, they lost to Vivendi Group. Simon leaned on the sofa and pressed his finger on his temple. Xinghe Entertainment is currently focusing on developing overseas distribution networks, and the North American market has always been the main force. If I have to spend resources to resist them, it will waste my time and energy. But this again have to do. Barry Diller nodded and continued to ask, "I heard that Xinghe Entertainment is working with DreamWorks Animation and an international consortium to build a movie theme park in China." "Yes, this is of great benefit to the development of the Chinese market, and it is also very good for the company's promotion. The downstream market and derivatives of movies are the weak points of Xinghe Entertainment. We must catch up." Simon is very much about the overall industry chain of movies. Value Netflix and NBC Universal are 2 important pieces of the puzzle at present. Xinghe Entertainment has to find a way to join MPAA and become one of its members. Before MPAA, there were always 7 places. After Sony joined 3 consortiums to control MGM, MPAA members became 6. Xinghe Entertainment's current strength is absolutely can enter. Barry Diller advises Simon. Being an MPAA member helps in many ways. Simon nodded. This is definitely something to strive for, and the annual membership fee of MPAA members is not much. As a ticket to a top film company, MPAA membership is a must. Chapter 299. In addition to formulating film ratings, the Motion Picture Association of America, MPAA, has also been lobbying governments on issues such as copyright protection, anti-piracy protection and product tax credits for film and television culture. Simon will of course make Xinghe Entertainment a member of the Motion Picture Association of America, but not directly, But to get tickets through the acquisition of Universal Pictures, the popularity of Twilight is almost beyond most people's expectations, with more than $150 million at the North American box office in 3 weeks of its release. The North American box office of The Hangover, released last month, has also reached $220 million. The two consecutive blockbuster movies have made everyone at Xinghai Entertainment very happy. After all, The Hangover is just an R-rated comedy movie, and Twilight is just a youth fantasy romance movie, neither of which is a big-budget project. And in July, the big production Thor by Xinghai's Marvel Pictures will be released again. Los Angeles, Burbank, the headquarters of Xinghai Entertainment. In Simon's office on the boss chair, Laura Collins straddled Simon, disheveled, and her face flushed, her arms around Simon's neck. Well, Simon exhaled and kissed Laura Collins. It wasn't long before both were gasping for breath. "Is there anything important?" Simon asked, holding his delicate body. "Yes, it's about the progress of Netflix's acquisition negotiations," Laura Collins responded by sticking to Simon. "They want more shares?" Simon said with a smile. "Xinghai Entertainment's equity is of course a sweet pastry. You can give shares, but it's mainly in cash. Now Bank, Wells Fargo and even Bank of America are all supporting us, and we have no shortage of funds for expansion." The two of them warmed up for a while, and Laura Collins got off from Simon while sorting out her services, and said, "I understand, but there needs to be a bottom line, the bottom line of equity that can be given up." "The bottom line?" Simon held his head and thought about it. "Netflix must want more shares instead of a cash, 8%, 8% after the acquisition, can be given to them. Although we need Netflix needs us more," Simon said. "After all, Netflix does not have self-produced dramas now, and the shrinking DVD market as the main force is all that everyone knows the trend." Laura Collins nodded and left the office after finishing. Afterwards, Simon came to the window, looking at the scenery outside the window and thinking. The contacts between NBC Universal and Doncaster are becoming more and more frequent. Doncaster, as an internet provider, also controls a lot of cable TV channels. NBC is one of the 4 major TV networks in the United States. Doncaster wants to. If you want to buy it, the formalities of the government will definitely take some time. However, France's Vivendi Group also owns a 20% stake in NBC Universal, and GE needs to acquire that 20% stake from Vivendi first if it wants to sell NBC Universal to Doncaster. Perhaps this is also a breakthrough. After all, Vivendi signed an agreement when it sold Universal Pictures to General Electric before, and Vivendi can sell shares to a third company in 2004. General Electric's NBC television network and Vivendi's Universal Entertainment formed the NBC Universal Entertainment Group, with GE holding 80% of the shares and holding the new group at the same time. The popularity of the two consecutive films of Xinghai Pictures also surprised many filmmakers in Hollywood. An R-rated comedy, a youth love drama of a vampire werewolf, the two films did not have a high reputation among film critics, but they both broke out a strong box office appeal at the same time. Richard Parsons, the African-American chairman of Time Warner Group, stepped down as chairman of the group this year after stepping down as CEO last year. Group CEO Jeffrey Vicks, who also took office last year, took over as chairman of the group and senior executives inside Warner Brothers Entertainment, a key asset of Time Warner Group, are having small meetings. Barry Mayer, CEO of Warner Brothers Entertainment, Jeff Robinoff, president of Warner Brothers Entertainment, and Alan Horn, chairman of production, sat on the couch and chatted about the current movie landscape. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is already the 6th, and it's coming out this month. It's getting a lot of attention right now. It's been postponed from last Christmas to this summer. "That's right," said Jeff Rowe, president of Warner Brothers. Benioff said our Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince will be released on 7.17, and the blockbuster Thor produced by Marvel Studios under Xinghai Entertainment will be released on 7.10. "It will be our biggest competitor," Allen said. Horn said at this time, after all, DC Entertainment and Marvel Studios, which are owned by Warner Brothers, are their biggest competitors. Moreover, although Zack Snyder's anti-hero blockbuster Watchmen has a very good reputation this year, it is indeed a failure at the box office. Manga hero movies really need enough attention. Last year, Our Dark Knight broke all kinds of records. Last year's Iron Man by Marvel Studios was also successful. Thor, next year's Iron Man 2, said Barry Mayer, frowning. Batman 3, The Dark Knight Rises is estimated to have to wait 2 or 3 years, and Superman Returns in 2006 failed again. "We have so many characters in DC, We can't just rely on Superman and Batman, the two trump cards. Haven't we been preparing for Green Lantern since 2007? How is the preparation now? Barry Mayer asked. Identified by director Martin Campbell. The production budget was given a $200 million budget and was in post-production, explained Jeff Robinoff, president of Warner Brothers. Pictures. Well, hurry up. Xinhai Entertainment has a lot of plans to build Marvel. DC can't have too long a gap, and the Harry Potter series is about to end. The importance of DC is obvious. Barry Mayer is in charge of the entire Warner Brothers Entertainment, and the responsibility on his shoulders is also very heavy, and the pressure given by Xinhai Pictures is also increasing. Not only that, but this year's blockbuster sequel, Terminator 2018, co-released by Warner Brothers and Sony Columbia, wasn't a success for the blockbuster Terminator 2018, co-produced by Jadebird Pictures and MGM. Sony Columbia is responsible for overseas distribution and Warner Brothers is responsible for North American distribution. However, since its release in May, the North American box office has only been $120 million, and the overseas box office has only been $200 million. It can be said that MGM, Sony Columbia and Warner Brothers all suffered some losses from the acquisition of the Terminator copyright by Jadebird. Jeff, we can't just focus on big productions. We also need to pay attention to the distribution of other low and medium-cost films. Barry Mayer wants good-looking financial statements. Drunken and Twilight, such hit movies, small cost, high box office. Xinhai Pictures estimates that the sequel is about to start filming. It should be good for New Line Cinema to release Death Come 4 this year. The 3D version is also a restart of the series. President Jeff Robinoff responded. Barry Mayer nodded, and then let Alan Horn focus on the preparation and production of Green Lantern. Chapter 300. As the most anticipated blockbusters of the year, Warner Bros. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince and Paramount's Transformers 2 are definitely in the top 3. Of course, there is also a sci-fi blockbuster Avatar, produced by 20th Century Fox and directed by the great director James Cameron. The global release of Transformers 2 at the end of June has detonated a summer season, and Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince in July is also highly anticipated. Although Marvel's Thor is also huge, the male protagonist is the little-known Australian actor Chris Hemsworth, relying on the heroine Anne Hathaway and Marvel's fame and special effects publicity on 7.10. The 3D fantasy blockbuster Thor, produced by Marvel Studios, a subsidiary of Xinhai Entertainment, held its North American premiere at the Chinese Grand Theater on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in Los Angeles. The main creative members of the crew, such as director Kenneth Branagh, starring Thor Chris Hemsworth, Anne Hathaway, Anthony Hopkins, Tom Hiddleston, etc., are all dressed up. Attend the premiere. Thor is an important part of the Avengers universe, and its importance is self-evident. So in addition to Kevin Feige, Simon and Starcy Entertainment executives Nina Jacobson and the newly added Dick Cooke also attended. Thor has held its world premiere in London, England 3 days ago. After the North American premiere tonight, it will be released simultaneously in many countries around the world. Next, the crew members must do a good job in promoting in Europe. Dick Cook is the head of Xinhai International Pictures, and he spends a lot of time in the European headquarters in London. Actually, I'm going to convert Thor to 3D in post-production, but everyone doesn't seem to agree. After all, there are not too many 3D theaters at present. Simon smiled, and it is estimated that we will have to wait until James Cameron Long's masterpiece Avatar will lead the trend of this period of IMAX theaters after the release. Yet, I remember we had a lot of IMAX theaters in the United Theater, but we can make the next one in 3D, Dick Cook said with a smile. Simon nodded with a smile. Of course it is okay for the development of IMAX 3D movies. Suitable movies will bring higher box office. Transformers 2 has already surpassed $310 million at the North American box office and $300 million at the overseas box office within half a month of its release, which is estimated to be stronger than Warner Bros. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince next week, Simon said enviously. After all, if it is inferred from this situation, Transformers 2 will definitely exceed $400 million in North America, and overseas is also expected to have the same box office. Dick Cook smiled wryly, and then responded, "No way, Steven Spielberg's eyes are indeed good." The producer of the Transformers series is Hollywood director Steven Spielberg. When he was negotiating with Hasbro for the film adaptation, Spielberg personally persuaded Hasbro and director Michael Bay. "By the way, I heard that the sexy heroine in it, Megan Fox, complained during an interview with a magazine." Simon asked again. Dick Cook nodded and introduced the matter to Simon in detail. After all, This level of series films must be the focus of the distributors. It turned out that Megan Fox said in an exclusive interview with Wonder magazine at the beginning of the month, Michael Bay was like Napoleon on set, trying to build a notorious madman image for himself. I think he wanted to be Hitler on set, and he really was. Working with him was a nightmare, but once he was off the set, out of directing mode, I actually admired him a lot. He was totally socially inept, and it was cute just looking at him. Hitler on the set, Simon said with a smile. Doesn't she know that Spielberg is Jewish? And Megan Fox dares to say this in front of the media. The Michael Bay family is also Jewish, and I don't know if she will have a place in the sequel to the Transformers series in the future. Dick Cook actually didn't care too much about Evase and Transformers. After all, that's not the real point. It's just too easy to find sexy women with good body and good looks in Hollywood. Simon nodded, although he knew that Megan Fox would be out of the Transformers series in the future. However, I don't care about it myself, and I have already explained to Kevin Feige the constraints of the actors of the Marvel series. However, although the number of Jews in the United States is only about 1.7%, the wealth they own exceeds 35%. Moreover, industries such as culture and entertainment, finance, and technology have a large proportion, especially in Hollywood. The influence of Jews cannot be underestimated. There are many high-level production companies, producers and directors, heavyweight actors, and giants in the press. It's no wonder that superstars like Mel Gibson were directly suppressed to the end. Simon looked at the people at the venue. His deep eyes didn't know what he was thinking in the eyes of outsiders. After a while, he and Dick Cook and other high-level executives were interviewed and photographed by the media on stage, which caused quite a stir. Mr. Pike, do you think this new Marvel movie Thor will surpass the success of Iron Man? Reporters have rarely seen Simon Pike in front of the screen at such events. Thor and Iron Man are both important projects of Marvel Studios. It can't be said that they surpass or not, as long as they can give the audience a good impression, because we are very planning for Marvel Studios next a lot. After all, Marvel has a lot of superhero characters. Simon responded painlessly. Mr. Pike, do you have anything to say about Xinhai Pictures' hot performance in the summer? The two films The Hangover and Twilight are very good at the box office, and now the masterpiece Thor will be released again. Now, is Xinhai Entertainment ready to challenge the traditional 6 major filmmakers? Another reporter asked a tricky question. Simon glanced at the reporter and smiled slightly. Xinhai Entertainment is also a part of Hollywood, and has the responsibility to contribute fresh blood to Hollywood and Yiwu, and the achievements of Xinhai Entertainment are the results of the efforts of our staff and the support of the audience. Reason, Xinhai Pictures is just doing its job well. There are many great film companies in Hollywood. It's not a challenge, we just make progress together. Afterwards, Simon left the interview area and entered the theater with a smile. After all, these reporters did not know what other messy problems were brewing. It seems that Xinhai Entertainment has indeed performed too well this year, and the 6 strong competitors have finally completely exposed their fangs. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.